More of a weapon. Bregman sends one to the gap in left center field, and that's going to get down and roll all the way to the wall. 2 runs will score. It was Correa earlier. It is Bregman here, and the Astros have a 5-1 lead.
Completely covered that.
Hold on, let me ask you this real quick, Eddie. I'm sorry to cut you off.
What are you looking for? 3-0, a little ball up. You can drive in the gap. He gets it, and I know it's 3-0, and everyone thinks, oh, he's not swinging. Well, with the lefty on deck, he's swinging. Bregman knows how to play baseball.
Yep, great, smart player right there.
You guys are talking.
Hype it up, because if it's not the Yankees or the Dodgers, you probably won't hear about anyone else, especially the Astros, the hated Astros. But go ahead, my friend.
Well, let me tell you something. Major League Baseball made the Astros the most hated for this reason, so they can have them involved in these types of series with teams like the Red Sox, who,
and the Astros about to come up.
They're equally as hated around
Any
here.
news is good news.
Let me tell you. But like I was saying, Greg, it was a wild and crazy weekend, not only in the NFL, at the NFL level, but at the college level. We had the big dog go down to A&M. What a surprise that was. We're going to talk about that, and then John Gruden and all this stuff coming out about him, the Washington football team, Bruce Allen. People are biting their fingernails all around the league. Who could get exposed? John Gruden was the first domino to fall, and boy, did he fall hard.
He fell hard.
We're gonna talk about that and a lot of the stuff surrounding that, a lot of the different tangents we can go off when it comes to who may be involved and what comes next for those teams, and in particular the Las Vegas Raiders, who were having a pretty damn good season right out of the gate.
Yep.
And
10 years, $100 million.
Absolutely. And then, we'll talk a little bit of NBA if we get a chance at the end. But first, we're going to start
we're going to
off.
slip some NBA in
We're
there.
going to talk about the Saturday night special after, all the football that went on. There was a big boxing match, the trilogy, Fury, Wilder. It didn't disappoint, Greg. Tell me your thoughts on it.
Hey, you know what? Like you said, I like the word you used right there. Classic trilogy. If you think about classic trilogies, of course, the first one you think about is Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. They nearly killed one another in their third fight. And so I'm talking about literally almost killed one another. So it was a classic fight like that. It was something in the ilk of something like that, or a Ken Norton versus a George Foreman, something in that type. Hey, but it was a classic, like you said. It was a classic. And Wilder, he's a bad boy. Wilder's a bad boy. But Fury is sick with it, man. I mean, to be 40 pounds heavier than Wilder, to have that kind of skill, here's a guy who actually missed 2 years of boxing. He's 31-0 right now in a draw with Wilder. But missed 2 years of boxing because of mental illness and other issues or whatever, public issues. Comes back, and a guy like Wilder, who's always going for the knockout. Now, one thing we know about Wilder, and you have to give Wilder credit, man, because if it was anyone else, like Fury said, Eddie, Fury says, I'm the best boxer in the world. He's talking about the heavyweight division. At least I'm assuming he's just talking about the heavyweight division or whatever. And Wilder is the second. Wilder just ran into a beast in Fury, man, who's, like I said, as skilled as he is, light on his feet, and outweigh you about 40 pounds, and so he can box.
He's come a long way. I know he dealt with mental health issues. He dealt with weight issues. I mean, this is a guy that had a lot of
addiction.
And on top of it all, and to come through and to really send it home with what was a very exciting back and forth fight. But it just goes to show you, Fury's the man at that weight class, and now the talk is what comes next. I've heard Jake Paul and stuff like that. Let me tell you something, Paul, don't even think about getting in the ring with one Tyson Fury. I think that is a bad career move.
Well, you know what, Eddie? I mean, Fury, Wilder, if it was anybody else, Wilder a bad boy. And he came into this fight exactly. This time he realized he fired his trainer, from what I understand, after the second fight, hired someone else. I can't call the guy's name right now. But he hired someone else, and so he was really coming into this fight actually wanting to show more skill other than coming in there just going for the knockout. But like Tyson said, who was that saying back in the day? Tyson said, hey, you always have a game plan. You can come in with a game plan, but hey, as soon as you get hit, it's a different story. And it seemed like after the first round, Wilder, he was already tired, man. And he came out. He was trying to work on the body. He was trying to be smart. He had a strategy he was going to use. But Fury Furry just overpowered him, man, and just brought it. I mean, Furry knocked him down. What? He dropped Wilder in the 10th, 11th, and the 3rd, I think it was, and Furry got dropped. So it was a brawl. It was a brawl, man, but Furry's he's just better than Wilder
He's
right
that
now.
dude, so I'm excited to see what they have coming on, what fight they're going to come up with next. If it's this Jake Paul character, I'm going to check it out just to see him get squashed, because I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. Now, to the hot topic that everybody wants to talk about in this town, Greg, the Houston freaking Astros have done it again.
Why you make me wait on it?
They're moving on to the ALCS. This is their 5th consecutive ALCS. Don't call it a dynasty just yet, because they need to add one more of these.
Absolutely.
But let me tell you something. They are playing lights out right now. The sticks came to play. The lumber was out in the yard. And one Carlos Correa did what he always does. He comes through in the clutch, in the moment that matters the most. When it's time for one of those game-changing plays, he's the guy that's going to deliver.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was watching that at bat in the 3rd inning, down 0-2.
Right.
Right out of the gate, he goes down 2 strikes. But you could tell he had a bead on Rondon or Rodon, I should say. And that next pitch was a high fastball out over the plate, and Rodon thought he was going to blow it by Correa. Correa was not fooled, got the fat part of the bat on the ball and pulled it down the left field line for a big RBI double. That once that happened, it was like all of a sudden the Astros were like, we're going to take off. We're about to beat the hell out of these guys. They're not going to stop us, and that they did.
Hey,
to the tune of 10-1, Greg.
10-1, and I'm excited right now about the Astros. And you know what? And I was hoping it happened in this fashion after the guy for the White Sox, the pitcher that Dusty Baker threw
Ryan
a veil
Tepera.
Dusty Baker threw
Whoever
a veil
the
shot
hell
at
that
him.
is.
That's what Dusty Baker said. He said, I don't even know the guy. That was a veil shot at him right there. But I was glad. See, he was already setting everyone up for the okie doke right there. If the Astros found a way to win and find a way to win at home in 5 games, hey, look, they were cheating at home. That's why I wanted the Astros to finish their asses off today. And in Chicago, and I'm glad they did. And see, all they did, and see the Astros, and that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying even before the season. The Astros need to go into this season with that mentality, knowing they're going to be booed by all these fans across the nation. They need to go in with, it's us against the world. And you see they had the best record on the road in the American League this season. So, and I think that you have a guy like Dusty Baker over there. That's why I really want Dusty to get that first ring, man. He's been so close. He's a great manager, great guy, great person. I really want to see Dusty Baker get that championship, that World Series ring he so ultimately deserves. He really deserves that. But I think them under his tutelage, I think Dusty told him behind closed doors, hey, F these motherfuckers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And it was good to see the Astros go out there. It was good to see the Astros go out there all year and take on that mentality and do what they had to do. And I was glad they finished them off in Chicago. Dude trying to set up the okie doke with this, they're cheating, they're stealing signs. Okay, so they scored 6 runs in the game they lost in Chicago the other night. So you just happened to score 12 runs that game. So
I mean, they
scored 6 runs by stealing signs on the road. Then they scored 10 today.
They had a good game.
So are they stealing signs?
I mean, Josh Reddick had a really classic tweet that pretty much said the same thing. He's like, they scored a combined 5 runs at home, but yet on the road at Minute Maid, but then they go home and score 12. Shouldn't that raise at least the same level of suspicion?
Why aren't they under suspicion?
But it
I
just
like that,
really,
Eddie Cox.
it was just another shot back at him. You got to thank Josh Reddick for
Absolutely.
that one. But I like that he's still feeling salty about it, as he should. But the Astros did what good teams do when you go barking up their tree or yanking on their chain. When you yank on a big dog's chain, he's going to come and bite you. That's what the Astros did. They bit the White Sox. They felt like they had a really good chance to win today with Rodon going, and he's finally feeling 100% apparently, or as good as he's felt in a long time. And he's going out there and he looks good early. They get a lead on a big home run shot.
They're getting that experience.
Jake Myers goes down on that home run, running into the wall. We'll see if he's going to be able to continue on into the next series. But after that, when it came down to that moment in the 3rd inning, whenever Carlos Correa delivered that shot, all of a sudden you could tell it just kind of lifted the weight off the Astros' shoulders. And then they went into the breathing room. And everybody they face, it was like they're dialed in and they know know how they're going to attack that pitcher or how they're going to approach that at bat.
They're prepared.
They were going deep into the counts.
And what about Brantley?
Fouling off a lot of pitches,
all year.
making you throw multiple pitches
into
the zone until you make a mistake, and then they hit it out into the field. A double, a single down, something.
Right.
They really hit well.
And
with
you know what
runners
else they
on
do?
Base today.
Yes. They've been doing that, and that's the thing. I mean, the strength up and down that lineup, but all season, that's what they do. They make pitchers work, and so they really put stress on the pitchers, and they've definitely been doing that. You know the talent they have up and down that lineup, and I like what Buck Showalter, Buck Showalter and Bob Costas, what a joy to listen to. I mean, and the other guy that was in the booth with him, but Buck Showalter and Bob Costas, they were a joy to listen to when they were doing that game the other day. Not this game today, but game 2, I think it was. And like Buck Showalter was saying, as a manager, you want guys, you want a team, you want to know, as far as the Astros, I'm referring to their defensive prowess. I mean, you want guys who you think can make hits outs. You know what I'm saying? So if it's a hit against any other team, you have the guys and the horses on your team to make sure that's an out at every position. You want you want as many of those guys as possible, whether it be in the infield or the outfield. And he's like, the Astros have those type of guys, and that's why they play such good defense. And I'm gonna tell you, I said Tony La Russa had 2 championships last week with the A's. Forgot about the Cardinals with Pujols, and so that's 3. Great manager. I like what he did with Chicago White Sox. So even though I said all that about the White Sox, I like the year they had. I like the season.
I know you're a big Astros fan, so I know you're jacked up about this, just like me.
Man.
But I want to be honest. I really think it should have been a sweep. Like, it never even should have came down to Game 4.
Yeah.
I feel like the breaks that went the White Sox way with that weird play with I forget who it was. If it was Yasmani Grandal. I always have a hard time saying his name.
In those first 2 games.
But you remember the play where he was hit to Yuli Gurriel. There's a play at home. And the ball actually hit off his shoulder. I don't remember who it was who was at bat there. I don't remember if it's their catcher or who it was. But I know that play is what sparked the White Sox onto their run. And really, that would have been the play that got the Astros.
I didn't watch the whole game.
It would have been the play that got the Astros out of a jam. Yes.
Right.
Because the Astros are cruising, they're winning 6-1, and then all of a sudden, an out at a play at the plate in the infield where the Astros are battling out of a big jam. Zach Greinke comes in a situation he's never even pitched in before in the playoffs, in the middle of the count with 2 runners on the corners. He comes in and does, about as good as he can do. He gets ground balls, and then this play takes place where whoever was batting, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on the batter, but he was in the grass of the infield while Yuli's trying to throw home and make a play. He kind of sticks his arm out a little bit, ball grazes off his arm. It goes away, run scores easy, and the next thing you know, the White Sox are just off and running to the races, and they end up winning that game. But without that play, I don't
think some nice young players.
Yeah, I don't think they win that game. I think the Astros end up getting out of that jam, and then they cruise to what would have been a sweep. It was the same thing they did to the White Sox last time they faced them in the playoffs. And every time, ever since they've been playing them, ever since they swept them back in 2005 when the White Sox won the World Series, that we all thought the Astros had the team that year, and then boy were we wrong when the World Series came along. The White Sox just wiped them off the face of the map with a 4-game sweep. But since then, the Astros have been returning the favor every opportunity they got, and I really felt like this series could have went that way. But hey, after Game 3, then all of a sudden Game 4 gets postponed, and we're like, wait a minute, is the weather really that bad up there? I'm on my phone, I'm looking, it doesn't even look like it's that bad. Why are they postponing the game? Is it so they can get Rodon, one more day of rest? Hopefully he's feeling better, and now the White Sox have a better chance to climb back into this series. I mean, the conspiracy theorists were out. I was hearing it from both sides, but you know what they did? The way the Astros combated that, and you can thank your boy Dusty Baker for this. And they said, we're gonna go. Okay, fine. You want to postpone it another day? We're gonna throw Lance McCullers at you, again, because you couldn't touch him the first time. So we're gonna throw him at you again, and let's see how you fare in that one. And obviously, Lance was fantastic today.
Yes,
he didn't have to go very deep into the game. That wasn't.
And even in Game 1, he was fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was lights out. But I mean,
now
he did
Luis
exactly
Robert
what
for the
they
White
needed
Sox,
him to do.
Luis Robert for the White Sox. Remember I mentioned him last week. He's going to be special. The guy is going to be special. Now, they were making some comparisons to Mike Trout. They say Tony La Russa is saying he can be as good as Mike Trout. Now, That's very high praise. But from a guy who I definitely respect, who, like I said, 3 World Series rings, I mean, that's very high praise. But I saw the talent on display, and he was injured a lot this past season. So the Chicago White Sox have a very, very bright future. But like Eddie just said, we're stoked right now about the Astros moving on to the championship series.
I wonder
now you're going to face
going on in
the
that
Boston
locker
Red
room,
Sox.
Real quick before we move on to the Red Sox, I wonder how pissed they are at that Ryan Tepera kid for putting some bulletin board material out there like that.
Come on, man. I was surprised.
When you finally scratch, and claw and get you a game, then you want to go
they
poke
couldn't
in
have been
the
happy
bear.
about that.
And not to mention the guy's from Houston. He went to Brazoswood High School. He's a Houston kid of all things. He is the most unwelcome person back here in this city, as I can imagine.
He might as well stay in Boston.
James Harden can come over to my house for dinner before he's welcome even back off the plane. I had a little
Might
classic.
mention James Harden again later on in the show when we talk about Kyrie.
Definitely. But, yeah, this kid is unwelcome, and I guarantee you there's a lot of his classmates that are just waiting for him to come back to visit the old parents here in town. And they're gonna
you better not come back to the reunion.
You
better not come back to the reunion, buddy.
He was out of line, man, and you know what? His whole team paid for it.
Yeah.
Big time. And now, like you said, there's a big series coming up against the Red Sox. And Red Sox
who beat the Rays. That was impressive.
They beat the Rays.
The Rays who had the best record in the American League.
And you feel like the Rays probably match up better against the Astros than the Red Sox do, but the Red Sox have been able to beat the Astros in big series in the past, big playoff series. I remember the year they won the World Series. They outed the Astros in the ALCS. Do you think
even though they don't have Mookie Betts,
right? That's a big loss. But do you think that they can come together and beat this Astros team the way that Astros team is playing right now?
Well, you know what? Of course,
everybody has a shot.
Of course, I'm picking. I know what you mean. Of course, I'm picking
you remember
Astros.
how the last time they played the Astros, all of a sudden their pitchers are pitching their best baseball, their hitters are hitting as clutch as they've ever hit.
Everything is clicking at the right time.
Everything.
Right. And see, if that's the case, the chances are good that they can beat the Astros. Because, the Red Sox, and one thing about the Red Sox, they're not going to be scared of the moment. So they're the Boston Red Sox. So, again, they're without Mookie Betts, but you still have some boppers on their team. Devers, Martinez. So they have some talent on their team. And they played in a very tough division, so they're battle-tested. So the Red Sox are not going to be – they're not going to be a pushover for the Astros. The Astros just have to get those bats going early and often and keep them going. And hopefully the pitching can actually what is this calling me? Hopefully the pitching can actually come through, stay consistent, and I like where the Astros are headed, and that's to the World Series.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I hope they make it to another one. They got to get past the Red Sox. And with the pitching for the Astros, the thing about it is when the offense is playing good, that gives you a whole lot more breathing room and a whole lot more comfort with where you go. You can go to a Yimi Garcia or maybe even, Brooks Raley, which I haven't done yet, but you feel more comfortable going with those guys and saving your crunch time, heavy hitters in the bullpen for when you really need them in crunch time. And if you get into some of these playoff games like in the past where they go extra innings, multiple pitchers are coming in for multiple different situations, and then you end up deep in a 6-7 game series, certain guys aren't available. If you're able to get these guys in and out, not burning them up so much, because you're comfortable and you can use the entirety of the bullpen to help you do that. A good offense is what helps you do that.
Absolutely. Because you get such a big lead.
Absolutely.
That you don't have to burn your staff up. And see, and that's what I was banking on with the Astros going into these playoffs to but I like the way Dusty is managing these pitchers right now. And they're giving him some good innings, and they're gaining some valuable experience too. Like a few of them, a couple of youngsters were put in stressful situations, and so that's going to bode well for them moving forward in these playoffs against Boston, and hopefully, and I'm predicting to the World Series against the Giants up 2-1 right now on the Dodgers, and one more and the Dodgers are done. Now, of course, they both are great teams, but the Giants just find a way. You're talking about an organization who flies under the radar, who just, you look at their resume, their championships, their World Series rings, and the San Francisco Giants, they fall under the radar way too often as far as just being a great organization. And here they are right once again on the cusp of probably another World Series quietly. No one's talking about them. They're just moseying along, win 107 games. And here they are now. They're one game away from beating the glamorous Los Angeles Dodgers. And so it's going to be interesting to see. But I think the winner of that series, I think that's who plays the Astros, and I'm going to say the Giants are going to find a way to win that series.
They found a way to win that division when nobody thought they would. I mean, Vegas, even when they had a huge lead in the division, Vegas still had the Dodgers as finding a way to, claw out of that hole and
they have so much talent.
The Giants. But, they held them off for a reason that, the Dodgers struggled with them throughout the year. And, in this series, if it continues going the way it does, you see why. The
Giants just have, it seems like everyone, and again, you can talk about Buster Posey, you can talk about Chris Bryant is over there now. I mean, they have some players, but it just always seems like they remind me of a team like the Patriots as far as, but in MLB, like when you go over to the Giants, you just fall in line. And you just do what you have to do to help the team win. And no one, you see they don't even have names on the back of their jerseys. So that tells you what their attitude is right there and the type of culture that they want to build and that they want to have. And so, but they just always seem to play together, do all the things well. They can hit for power. They can play, they can hit the ball. They can scrap the ball, around the field or whatever and do what they have to do. They just always find a way to, like the other night, they beat Scherzer 1-0. Scherzer gave up. You remember we were talking about that knock? Hey, that one knock right there, but the Giants just pitched a great gem that game as well. So, so I think the Braves and the Brewers, I don't think they beat either the Dodgers or the Giants. But speaking of the Dodgers, of course, hold on, man. I want to talk a little bit of college football before we dig into that NFL.
Oh, yeah, we got to. I mean, we got to talk about what the hell happened to Alabama and this Calzada kid. Like, that's not the same quarterback I've been watching play for the Aggies. No, he looked terrible, in their biggest game of the year just a couple weeks ago, and then now all of a sudden he's hitting, receivers on the run on corner routes right there in the corner of the end zone. He's making big time throws, and I'm just wondering, is he really settling in, or is it just something about Texas A&M and just that whole aura that surrounds that university, and when they really bring it, they bring it. They find certain games where they can put together.
Yes,
they play way better than they actually are. I mean,
that's why they were ranked high like that when the season started.
Absolutely. But even going back to the Manziel days, like they've always seemed to be able to
be actually at the game
to knock off
Looked
Alabama
like he was sober.
At some point in time. Saban's got to be just pissed off that once again an A&M team that clearly they're better than found a way not just to beat them, but I mean this was a wire-to-wire domination. Now, of course, the phrase regress back to mean. Of course, here comes Alabama sort of storming back at the end, but A&M held strong and was able to hold off what looked to be a surefire comeback win by the better team as the much inferior team runs out of gas. Oh yeah, I mean all of a sudden once he caught fire, he was on target, and then it just became a slugfest. But man, you got to give a lot of credit to Jimbo Fisher. Whatever he's doing with Calzada, it's working, and if he continues to play like that, I mean A&M may all of a sudden start getting some love for one of them playoff positions at the end.
Well,
of the
the thing
year.
about it is, I think now that they already have 2 losses, that's why I was glad to see them go ahead and get that 2 losses, get them out of the way. I mean, even though, but we'll talk about the Buckeyes in a second.
Right.
But as much as I like A&M and want them to be successful, other than taking a spot from Ohio State, but Jimbo Fisher, he has those guys going in the right direction for sure. For sure, we know he's a damn good coach. I mean, and he has the talent over there. They played him at home, and they handled Alabama in the trenches. They were more physical than Alabama. And their running game, Isaiah Spiller and Devin O'Chain. I mean, O'Chain, I broadcast a couple of his games in high school. I mean, he is the real deal, world-class speed, too, and from right here in Houston. And so A&M just came to play that game. The quarterback, like you're speaking of, he came to play it. And they were just making plays all over the field. And it was just not meant for Bama that night. It was just not meant for Bama. Now, Bama is going to be right back in the mix. They're going to win all the rest of their games, and then it's going to become them against Georgia in the SEC championship. Now, if they beat Georgia, hell, as far as Alabama and their track record, if they just play Georgia real tight and lose 2 games, the committee still might put Bama in. Just thinking Bama just had an off night against Texas A&M, and they were not just clicking on all cylinders that game, and everyone has those nights or whatever. If they lose a close game to Georgia in the championship, it wouldn't surprise me if they put Bama in. But you have some teams, of course you know Bama's going to come back strong, but A&M was just a better team this past Saturday, and they wanted it more, and they were not going to be denied that game, and they just played well in a bunch of different phases of the game and just out-physicaled Alabama, and there it was. I mean, Bama is, they are human after all. Nick Saban is human after all. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Of course, you have Cincinnati, Luke Fickell. I mean, I like what they're doing, but they're like standing in the way right now.
And Iowa's looked really good. They move up with a big win. But back, with the Aggies and Alabama, they really did get after the quarterback really well, especially early on. That helped out a lot. And then I look at Alabama, I go through their schedule, close games against Florida, Mississippi, Ole Miss hanging around for a while before they pull away, and then you lose.
Yeah, the defense is kind of suspect at times.
Yeah, then you lose to Texas A&M. I mean, are we sure they're going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship? I'm not sure.
No, that's why I say if they even play them close.
Yeah, Georgia.
I think Georgia's the team to beat right now.
Head and shoulders better than them.
That defense is sick.
What was holding Alabama at number 1 was just because they had always been there. It's hard to knock them off.
Absolutely.
But now that we see them for what they are, I think Alabama's a very beatable team.
Oh yeah, they are.
And clearly now with Texas A&M, but. Let's see what happens the rest of the season. Could you imagine Alabama getting knocked off one more time by one of these inferior teams?
I sure hope so.
We'll see. We'll see. But it could just be that maybe this
Alabama
team isn't quite as good as some of the teams around them. In particular, I'm talking about Georgia, and that's what it's going to come down to. Because if they don't win that game in the SEC championship when they get there, then they can almost kiss a playoff spot goodbye.
Well, that'll be 2 losses.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, knowing the committee.
And then A&M would technically be over this.
Well, that's true because A&M beat them. But, well, it depends on how they look the rest of the season.
Right.
If A&M runs the table, obviously, yes, they would get the nod over Bama if they both had 2 losses because they beat Bama.
But you could end up with several really, really good football teams that have 2 losses, at the end of the year, and that could make things really interesting.
So what do you think about Cincinnati?
If it's just Georgia, and that's where
Luke Fickell, Ohio State graduate.
Yeah, that's where this would be their opportunity. I mean,
if they're going to do it, they're going to do it this year. Saying they're not playing anyone, they're not playing in the Power 5 conference. I mean, obviously, I want Cincinnati out of the way, but they're not going to lose anymore. They're not going to lose any games now. They beat Notre Dame. They're rolling now. I mean, so now it's going to be Georgia with that defense. Oh my God, that defense is brutal. I mean, so now we'll see when they play some more teams as the season goes on, and we'll see. But you got Georgia, you got Cincinnati sitting right there, you got Iowa. So as far as Ohio State is concerned, I'll talk about them in a second here. Of course, we're going to talk a lot of NFL. Hold your horses on that. We're going to talk a lot of NFL, trust me. Lamar Jackson doing this thing last night, passing from the pocket. But you have Georgia right there, so we'll see moving forward what Georgia does. But they're definitely the team to beat right now. Now, as far as Ohio State, you have Iowa right there. So if Ohio State, and I know I said after a few weeks ago when they lost to Oregon, I said in 7 weeks I may be singing a different tune. Obviously, because the way things play out, I said I'll see how they look moving forward and all this and that. Now they're playing like Ohio State can play. Granted, they haven't played Penn State yet, and so my thing is, and they haven't played Michigan. So my thing is, now it's looking like, even though they have that 1 loss, and I still wouldn't be just all the way confident, even if they ran the table, because now you're at the mercy of the committee again because you lost that 1 game. But everyone can't go undefeated. So if they're clicking like they're clicking now, and they click like that all season, and slaughter Michigan, like I hope we do, and beat Penn State in a few weeks, and then beat Iowa in the championship game, Ohio State has to be in. Now, I like the way they're playing right now. Chris Olave and C.J. Stroud. Remember a few weeks ago when I said that I wasn't so sure about his intangibles. And I want to apologize to the young man because from all accounts, and I have some homeboys. I have some dudes that's my boys that live in Cali right now that told me about C.J. Stroud, told me how great of a person he is and how great of a quarterback he was in California. So the talent is there. But come to find out, he had a He had a shoulder injury that had been bothering him. Then, of course, he's a redshirt freshman, so he's getting thrown into the fire. But I'm seeing him interact with his teammates now. He seems like he's more comfortable. He took that week off, so that shoulder is feeling good now. He's throwing the ball all over the yard. Ryan Day, with his play calling ability, I mean, again, the guy, hey, I'll put it like this. As much as I like to see young phenoms play, I was talking about Quinn Ewers and, of course, the most highly touted quarterback since Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, and skipped his senior year in high school to go to Ohio State. Of course I want to see the young phenom. Now, C.J. Stroud, he's a redshirt freshman, but it's almost at the point now the way C.J. Stroud is looking and the way with those great receivers and Olave and Wilson and all the rest of the receivers too, and Jigba and all those guys, I mean, and then the running back, Travion Henderson, who I'll talk about in a second. But C.J. Stroud may be in the running for the Heisman next year, if not this season. So Quinn Ewers, hey, that transfer portal, unless you want to wait till after next season, but if you want to go play some ball either this year, which you're not going to do this year now, or next season, you might have to transfer. You probably can go anywhere you want, but that's how good C.J. Stroud is looking.
I don't think he even has to worry about that. First off, he's not ready yet. There's no way this season's not.
What is a redshirt year anyway?
This season's not even.
I mean, if you want to play his redshirt freshman year.
Yeah, and next year, if he wasn't ready to start, that's fine too. You know, but at some point.
But is it fine with him?
If he is.
I know it's fine with Ryan Day.
You don't.
We're going to see if it's fine with him.
You don't have to play right away if you're.
Some people don't feel like that. Some of those phenoms like that, they want to come in and play, and they want to, he's already gotten that big marketing deal. I mean, so they're going to be paying him to sit on the bench. Obviously, C.J. Stroud would be gone after his redshirt sophomore year, which would be his junior year. But so I'm just saying, I mean, I hope he doesn't transfer. I want him to stick it out.
I just feel like the way people are influencing these quarterbacks, sometimes you transfer. I think in that scenario, being the guy that he is, he wanted to cut out his senior year. He's trying to fast track his way to the NFL. Well, if you want to do that, don't go anywhere. You can redshirt this year. Maybe you're a backup next year, and then all you need is one good year at Ohio State and Ryan Day's offense, and to light it up. And the next thing you know, you're a first-round draft pick, and I think that's exactly what he wants. If you start, you want to jump over here, you want to transfer over there, you may be taking a big risk.
I agree.
And things may not work out the way you plan.
Right.
Stay at
the grass
Ohio
is not
State.
always green on the other side.
Yeah, stay at Ohio State.
You know what?
You do what good quarterbacks have done.
And I hope he does.
Yeah, I mean, look at Jalen Hurts.
I hope he does.
Look at what he did.
And we're going to talk about that.
Just because you're not playing, it doesn't mean you're not the better player.
Well, I hope that's how he's thinking.
And if he's that type of prospect, like if he's that dude, like you say he is, then, I mean, when he gets on the field, maybe he beats out C.J. Stroud. It wouldn't be the first time that.
That's my point. He's not going to beat out C.J. Stroud.
A guy,
born an injury.
I'm just saying, if he is that guy, if he is
that
guy,
if he's
Trevor Lawrence 2.0, then he could be.
That's my point. So that's my point. I don't know. That's
my
point. I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. If he feels he is that guy, I mean, with the transfer situation the way it is now, where you can go the very next season and play ball, if it's a situation where he really vet the situation and a coach pretty much guarantees that he's going to come in as a starter at a big-time program, it wouldn't be surprising if he bolted. I mean, and not wanting to sit behind C.J. Stroud, because C.J. Stroud, the way he's looking, and again, like I said, what I'm noticing now, he's becoming that leader that I thought that, that I hoped he would become. So, and he's interacting more with his teammates. He's feeling more comfortable, holding people accountable and doing things like that. And, of course, Ryan Day's put him in a great – he has two great receivers. I mean, Olave and Gary Wilson. You're talking about two first-round talents right there. Slaughtered Maryland, a pretty good Maryland team last week, 66-17 or something like that. And so they're rolling. And Chris Olave and Gary Wilson, nobody can really guard them one-on-one. Of course, last year, Bama seemed like they had some coverages, and they pretty much took Olave and those guys out. But even this year, I think they've improved even more. You can't touch them at the line. I mean, you cannot. C.J. Stroud threw a fade pattern to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson shook this dude at the line so bad and got behind him in the back of the end zone. C.J. Stroud did not even have to put any air on it because the DB was nowhere inside. He threw a line drive. That should have been a fade pattern. That's how open Garrett Wilson got. And I'm really waiting for him to really take it up a notch in the return game. He almost broke a couple last week. But I really want that return game because that freshman they have back there returning that football, that true freshman, number 12, I can't pronounce his name right now, but he can go. He can go. So Travion Henderson, before we move on, because I want to get your thoughts on UT, Oklahoma, and then of course, we talk some NFL. Travion Henderson, and let me tell you, Travion Henderson, that's the freshman running back now. He ran for 100, and they're keeping him fresh too. He ran for 100 and something the other day, caught 2 touchdowns. Ryan Day is using him out the backfield. Now, even though he's used his running backs out the backfield, J.K. Dobbins and those guys before, he's really using Travion Henderson like he's a Christian McCaffrey or Reggie Bush. I mean, he's really getting the football to him. This guy's explosive, and he is big time. I'm talking about top 3 talent in the draft, barring injury. That's how special he is. He's special in the sense, and I don't throw that around lightly, man. I know special when I see it. Travion Henderson is special, was the top running back in the nation last season. Big play waiting to happen every time he touches the ball. I mean, but it was a situation where they were trying to interchange him with some other running backs when the season first started. But it's like, I harken back to a situation a guy named Marcus Dupree. I've talked about him on the show before. Went to the University of Oklahoma. The first time I've ever seen somebody sign live on TV in 1981 was Marcus Dupree on ESPN, right there in his mother's house. And then on that 30 for 30, they actually showed that. But I remember that when it happened. But he was out of Mississippi. 6'3", 220, could run a 4.3. He had injuries. He had attitude problems. He only played 1 year at Oklahoma. But when I tell you special, after the first couple of games, Oklahoma was trying. Now, Oklahoma didn't have, even though they were ranked very high, top 2 or 3 team in the nation, they didn't have the talent that Ohio State has as a whole on the offensive side of the ball and all this and that. So after the first couple games, they were trying to put some other running backs in there. Barry Switzer say, get this guy the ball who was the best running back to ever come out of high school, put him back there and just give him the damn ball. And then the rest was history that freshman year. I mean, Marcus Dupree was special. Man, if he wouldn't have got hurt, he would have been the best to ever do it. Ended up going to the USFL. But Travion Henderson is that type of talent where after a game or two, they just said, hey, there's no alternating running backs right here. Yeah, we're going to give him a blow every now and then and let him catch his breath. But here's our guy. He is our guy. And give him the ball and let him play. Master Teague, those guys can come in and spot him here and there. But I like what they're doing. We'll see moving forward. The defense is playing better. They seem like they know where they are on the field now. They're playing a lot more zone, and that talent is evolving. Some of those young guys they were playing, that they're playing, they're starting to play real good now. That's going to be a tough test. They're off this week. It's going to be a tough test in a couple of weeks.
Could they be on a collision course for that final game against Michigan, who found themselves in a dogfight with Nebraska, but they found a way to win this time. Hey, Cade McNamara, they never used to find a way to win. Seemed cool as a cat. I thought after throwing that big pick, I thought he was going to crumble, but man, he came back strong and he led some big drives in the fourth quarter that put the Wolverines over the top. And man, that game was a treat to watch. But
I would be Penn State.
I'm like, this Cade McNamara kid can ball.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping my eye on him and see where he falls. In the ranks of prospects at the quarterback position, because we here in Houston we're watching that as far as what quarterbacks could emerge. I don't even think the Texans will take one next year, but I'm watching another quarterback. Another quarterback that a lot of people thought may be a first-round draft pick or could be one of those guys for Houston. Spencer Rattler, he gets benched for the second consecutive year, throwing big interceptions or having big turnovers early on in a game against Texas. Last year, we all know how that one went. Didn't quite go their way. But
he seems like he gets flustered easy.
Maybe so.
He's a good talent.
Maybe
still
so.
Make it draft the first round.
I haven't ever been sold on Spencer Rattler. To me, the way he plays the position, he just doesn't look the part to me. Everything looks a little bit off.
Is he going to get his job back?
I think that maybe
Caleb Thompson.
Look, they put him in and
was the top quarterback in the nation last year. Yes, he was.
And usually that's what happens. It's one of those.
And he made everybody around him better too.
One of those guys gets an opportunity.
They all felt like they had a chance to win.
They hit the ground running and they never look back. It happens all the time in football. You're going to go with a hot hand. And, Lincoln Riley felt like he even said as much, that he felt like he was the hot hand, so he stayed with the kid. He did put Rattler in for that 2-point conversion that they desperately needed.
They just came back and walked UT, man.
And at the end of the game, I don't know if you saw this, Greg, at the end of the game, all the Sooner players were taking
Texas,
a big,
Oklahoma.
big photo, a big team photo celebrating their win. Spencer Rattler's nowhere to be found, and there's a video that emerged of him all the way almost into the tunnel, way away from his teammates after this huge win, and the internet was already blowing up that Spencer Rattler was on his way to the transfer portal. Already blowing up.
Really?
You know, that he could be
That's
on
how
the
good
move.
this dude is.
Hey, man. I mean, that was a big win.
Yeah, that was
for
a big
them,
win.
and Oklahoma keeps hopes alive.
Yeah, I mean, hey, man, and you know what, too? I wanted Texas to win that game, obviously, because I wanted Oklahoma out of the way. And
Michigan and Oklahoma not going away yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But the thing about it, Texas, and here's the thing about Texas. I like what Sarkisian, I like the way they look. I really like the way UT looks. I mean, Bijan Robinson, now we talk all this about running backs. I mean, I think running backs are very important again in today's offenses, especially if you want to keep the defense honest and you have a do-it-all running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield in this pass-happy league right now. And you can keep the defense off balance because this guy can run the football. Bijan Robinson is special. And he's going to go in the first round. I don't know what he's going to run in the 40 and all this and that, but it doesn't matter. He's a guy that just makes plays. And that receiver, I like what hold on, man. I'm trying to look up those stats from the other day. But that receiver, Eddie, damn it. Hold on. The receiver for UT. You saw the game?
What's that?
The receiver for UT, the freshman. One thing I like about Xavier Worthy, I knew his name was Xavier. I was about to call him Murphy. But Xavier Worthy, he's special too. He's special. And he looks like he's
He's had a good year so far.
Yes. He caught 3 touchdowns against Texas Tech. And he seems like, I know I talked about UT. It seems like Sarkisian right now, you know, for a long time when I talked about how they seem to get those players since Mac Jones. And stay tuned. We're going to talk a lot of NFL. We're good on time, so chill out. So how they don't evolve at UT or how they haven't been evolving or whatever, it seems like Sarkisian, it's almost like if you have your foot on the gas of a car, it seemed like for all those years after Mac Brown was there, it seemed like now the car finally started and these guys are playing. That's why I hated to see them lose that game against Oklahoma. But that's Big 12 football, all those points being scored, and it just shows you how gritty Oklahoma was and how good they are. You have to give Oklahoma credit. They found a way to come back and win that game. But I like what I see from UT moving forward, and I like some of the talent on that team. Again, Xavier Worthy, he is the real deal. 9 catches for 261 yards. He kept making plays. Even after he had fumbled that kickoff, he came right back and made another play after that. Big time, speedster, can run routes, can get in and out of his breaks. I mean, yeah, he's the real deal. So I hate UT had to lose that game because I really want to see how good they were going to be. Still going to be good. But, so, hey, man, I mean, we'll see. TCU, I talked about those running backs real quick before we move on. Zach Evans, I've been telling y'all about Zach Evans. Now, remember when I said before the season, and this is after his freshman year where he was getting spot duty, but I watched him play, and I came on the show one day. I said, Zach Evans, who's the top running back in the nation coming out of high school, committed to Georgia, and then got out of his commitment to Georgia. I know I got a couple more boys who actually know him personally, supposedly had all these issues in high school in North Shore, you know, didn't have a real strong family structure. But he's gone to TCU, had attitude problems. Of course, he missed the state championship game because he got into it with the coaches because he didn't want to give back his phone or something like that, if I can recall. But has some attitude issues. He's gone to TCU, and he's lived up to the billing. Seems like he's happy. Seems like he's interacting with his teammates. It seems like his teammates actually like him. It seems like he's working hard. From what I hear, he's working hard. And what is he doing? The last 3 games, he's ran for over 100 yards. And that's with Gary Patterson really not even giving him the football that much. They're keeping him fresh. But I said before the season, this guy is going to be a top 5, top 10 pick after his junior year, and he's special. And you see what he's doing at TCU right now. But TCU, of course, they're not nowhere in the national championship hunt. Hey, but a lot of college football we can break down, we can talk about. There's some games coming up this weekend as well. But I know Eddie want to talk some NFL.
Of course, absolutely. You know, that is what we do best here on the Sports Court. Is dig into what goes on Sundays and Monday nights. You know, Monday night last night's game certainly didn't disappoint.
We do all topics best.
I was thinking, who the hell are these Colts? Like, did Unitas walk out on the field all of a sudden? Did Jonathan Taylor running like Edgerrin James, breaking away like Taylor right out of the gate, man.
Right.
You know, gave them a boost. And
I was
just sitting around wondering, you know, what the hell's going on with Lamar Jackson? And then all of a sudden, you know, late in the third, early fourth quarter, he just turns it on. And it's like flipping a switch with that team. Yeah. And you can tell the Colts were kind of looking around, and they realized they're about to get their doors blown off. Yeah. And, you know, that was a hell of a game, man. But, hey.
You know what?
I am so impressed with, like, the maturity of Lamar Jackson because I'm telling you, a season ago, maybe 2 seasons ago.
I laid it down in the second half.
He doesn't bounce back from that, you know, that type of start. He doesn't bounce back in a game like that. You know, a defense may be able to get a beat on him when they know he's going to drop back and pass a whole lot.
That's why I want to go with that.
And he hasn't had success when needing to do so. I mean, that's been the biggest knock on the Ravens for, you know, so long. We talked about, Greg, in the playoffs, if you're down to the Chiefs, like, what the hell are you going to do? Because you can't pass when they know you're going to pass.
Definitely going to talk about the Chiefs.
But they knew they were going to throw the football, and Lamar Jackson still had tremendous success late in the third, early in the fourth, throwing the football, and that's what led the Ravens to a comeback victory.
Well, like you said,
that was a hell of a game, man. Hell of a game. Good job by Lamar Jackson. And, hey, Marquise Brown, I know early on in that,
have I been saying it all last season?
Next year,
give him the damn ball.
It's like, man, they hadn't been throwing him the football. Now you can see they're designing plays for him down the field. They're finding him open, and he's doing some he's had some eye-popping plays, you know, where he's coming back to the football, he's getting underneath defensive backs. Defensive backs think they have opportunities to make a pick, and then here he comes underneath, snatching the football away. I mean, the guy's tremendous.
Yes, he
is. You see, now you see, like, every one of them Browns, man, they're all really freaking good. Antonio Brown even had a couple touchdowns on Sunday.
Hey, those little feet not as choppy as they used to be.
No, they're not, but he did have a good day, especially when you got it helped to have Tom terrific throwing you the football and not one Ben, my shoulder's about to fall off Roethlisberger, which we can get into.
Those burnt feet.
Ben. He sort of had a little bit of a bounce back day. I mean, he wasn't terrible, Ben Roethlisberger, after having a really rough week. But let's start with your Cowboys, man. The Cowboys defense.
Well, hey, what I was going to say about Lamar Jackson real quick before we go to the Cowboys is, I like what you're saying right there about Lamar Jackson. Now, that's what he's doing this season, and it shows you how much he's worked on his game, and that's why I like Lamar Jackson, man. He's the ultimate professional, and we know how great of a talent he is, and he takes all the criticism in stride, and he goes and he works on his game. If he knows what he has to work on, he gets better. I like when he came out of the draft, they were like, you want to work out a wide receiver? He was like, hell no, I'm a quarterback. And so that's when I really started liking him right there and thought he should have been the first pick in the draft. But he's gotten better as a quarterback. He's, like you said, he's always been that guy in situations like that. Once you get the Ravens down, they will not come back because their game is so predicated on running the football, and with him being the main part of that. And so now he's standing in the pocket. He's surveying downfield, surveying his receivers, and he's finding guys. Marquise Brown, like I talked about even last season, you drafted him in the first round. He has a talent. Get him the ball now. He was nicked up some from time to time, but you have to devise a plan to get him the ball. You can't just throw the ball to the tight end all the time. So he's getting the ball to his receivers.
Hey, that tight end, Mark Andrews, had
he's great. He's great. He's great.
I mean, he had a hell of a game.
No, you don't go away from Mark Andrews. That's your main target right there. You definitely don't go away from it. But I like the fact that they're being diverse. They're showing confidence in Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is confident in himself, and he's making the necessary throws. And they came back. Indianapolis didn't play bad last night.
No.
Carson Wentz and those. I mean
they kind of opened some people's eyes who thought Indianapolis may just be this team that's going to severely underperform this year.
Right.
You know, Carson Wentz, all of a sudden, you know, he did have a couple of those plays where it's like, why are you taking so long to make a decision? You know, you're not that fleet of foot anymore. Yeah, you're not that fleet of foot. You can't afford the time to take that long making a decision. Get rid of the football. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, he had, you know, several moments of confidence. You know, Michael Pittman looked really good, throwing him the football a lot. You know, that connection could end up developing into something really good for them.
Absolutely.
But I think the performances that they put on last night, it really did kind of open some teams' eyes. Like, hey, this still is a Colts team with a very good young defense. They still have a dominant offensive line when they're healthy.
And a good coach.
If that quarterback, can figure things out, with that running game and with some of the pieces they've now added around him, they could have some success. And they had the Baltimore Ravens right where they wanted them, and they let them off the hook, didn't they, Greg?
Let them off the hook. Yeah, hey.
But Mark Andrews had 11 catches for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's what you call a go-to guy. That's what you call a go-to guy. And so I like what Baltimore's doing.
With 125 and 2
right.
As well.
Hey, man, Baltimore has always been a gritty
catches.
team. Right. And they've always been a resilient team as far as the defense. Harbaugh, he always has teams that's tough and gritty and grimy. So they're always going to claw their way back. Their way back. Now you have a guy at the quarterback who's the best running back on the team, who's the best run on the team, electrifying. And he can make all the throws now. So pick your poison. I mean, what are you going to take away? So, and then, again, the game plan right now seems to be like they've just opened some things up for Lamar Jackson. So they're playing well right now.
Honestly, I think it was by necessity that this happened. I don't think this was some master plan by John Harbaugh by any means or by any stretch of the imagination. I think that because of all the injuries that they sustained at running back, losing J.K. Dobbins, people dropping like flies, they're bringing Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell off the street, Devontae Freeman off the street to try to, just fill their stable of backs. They realized they didn't really have anybody they could trust back there at running back that can execute the running game or run the football the way they're used to when they had Edwards and Ingram and Dobbins.
Right.
So they've been forced to lean on Jackson, and he's just responded by exceeding their expectations in what they thought he could do or what their offense could do whenever they had to go to him and lean on him. Because in the past, the times that they had done it, they hadn't had success. Give them credit for putting him in the position to have success. But to me, it's all about Lamar Jackson just really growing and really developing, showing you that he has taken a step forward in his career and in his development to where
he's playing like an MVP.
Sky's the limit.
Right. I totally agree. He's playing like an MVP, and that's clearly his team, and he is a great leader on that football team. And as long as he's the quarterback, the Baltimore Ravens are always going to have a chance because they're the Baltimore Ravens, led by Lamar Jackson. So, hey, now, of course, the Cowboys. Of course, I want to get your take on the Kansas City Chiefs as well. I know you want to get my take on the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Cowboys, hey, man, I ain't going to front. I'm geeked right now. I'm geeked. Now, one thing, Eddie, I will say, and I'm not hedging my bets by no means, but you have to guard yourself with the Cowboys. And I mean, and see, you get into the playoffs now. Of course, every season is different and this and that, but I'm not going to go into these playoffs all the way invested in because it'll be something. We don't get a call. I mean, that damn Green Bay, I wish Green Bay lost that game the other day with all them damn field goals missed because I'm still mad at Green Bay for that Dez Bryant call, and then Crosby when he made the field goal against the Cowboys, when Aaron Rodgers threw that long out pass to Jared Cook, and next thing you know, Crosby hit that field goal. So I want the Packers to lose that.
He always finds that guy.
Oh, yeah, I know, right?
Always.
So I mean,
but the Dez catch.
But if this season though,
fault because
I'm getting
the Dez catch that was the NFL's fault because
it was,
by the definition of
but
the
fact,
rule,
I'm just saying
I knew it wasn't going to be called a catch. I felt bad because we're looking at it. It looks like a catch, but by rule, it wasn't. That's what sucked.
But see, the thing about it too is Green Bay always seems to be the lucky ones in that regard, and so I wanted them to lose the other day, and then I like what Cincinnati's doing. We can talk about them in a second. But the Cowboys, now, with this team, I said all that to say this. With the team we have this year, I'm more confident. I think we're going to make a Super Bowl run if healthy. I really do. And so, but again, if not getting a call or not something that, but are they really that team this year? I like what I'm seeing. I like the chemistry on both sides of the ball. I like what Kellen Moore is doing. And just think, Michael Gallup is not even back yet. Wait till Michael Gallup get back. And that's flying under the radar now. We can talk about, Cedric Wilson, and I mean, they have a plethora of receivers. Of course, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. But think about it.
Boy, CD is nice.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, before he got hurt, Gallup, he was on his way to being a great wide receiver. So you throw him into the mix. Then they have 2 up-and-coming great tight ends that they can throw out there. Then they're throwing a number 87 out there named Sprinkle. I don't know who he is, but he looks the part. He's wearing number 87. Jeremy Sprinkle.
Jeremy Sprinkle, yeah, he used to play for Washington. He was the 3rd or 4th tight end on that roster for a few years. When given the opportunity,
he looks like he's athletic or something.
He has played well. I mean, he bounces around. He's not going to be an every down tight end for you, but he has gotten opportunities when in Washington. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Big tight end.
For Washington?
Used to be Jordan Reed.
Jordan Reed?
Yeah, he had a lot of injury issues. He'd go down, and then that would move Sprinkle up the depth chart, so he'd get on the field.
I've seen him play before, so that's who that is.
And he has had some, like I said, when he's played, he has played well at times. I mean, he's never been a go-to guy, but I noticed that they added him and just upped him to the active roster.
I see they got him going out there a few times.
But I think that's what they're doing well is they're finding players that can complement the good players that they already have.
Yeah.
You see Pollard complimenting Zeke, and they're feeding off each other, and the running game is doing things that at the beginning of the season we weren't sure they were going to be able to do with the way things were going on the offensive line, and now all of a sudden that tune has changed. And I have to give Connor Williams credit. Around.
I've been hard on Connor Williams.
Well, he was playing bad at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean he was.
I mean, he got a holding penalty on the screen. Remember that? I about lost my mind when he did that.
And he got power drove a few times too. That I'm like, come on, man, you got to stand your ground.
The idea is to let him go.
Like Tony Mandridge, man. I remember in college, man. Tony Mandridge.
Not holding.
Tony Mandridge. You look up Tony Mandridge after the play. He'll have a damn defensive back in it. I mean, he'll have a lineman in, like the lineman was playing free safety, bro.
Right.
I'm like, they'll be way up. I'm like, damn, he's just out there just doing this. But that's how Connor Williams got done a couple of times. But I like what the offensive line is doing. I like the chemistry on the team. Hey, Zeke looks good. And we talk about Zeke. Zeke has that burst. People have to remember, Zeke is 220 pounds. And when he was running by people and doing all that, that wasn't a scat back that was doing that even then. And he looks like that guy now. He probably has lost a step, maybe. I mean, he's getting in the open, and he's showing that burst. He's healthy. He's happy. But Zeke is 220 pounds. So that's not a 185-pound back there. So Zeke does what he does, and I like the play calling. They're very diverse, but they're leaning on the run game, and that's opening things up. That's opening things up for the passing game. And if you look at what Dak is doing right now, Dak is a great leader. He's a great leader, and he's making all the throws. And I just like, hey, man, the Cowboys are clicking right now. McCarthy, as long as he stays out of the way in some of those decisions, as long as hopefully he doesn't have to get put, because he was trying last game. I can't remember exactly what it was. He was thinking, like, how can I mess this up and go back to Coach Bobo real quick? I'm like, McCarthy, don't do it, bro. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was trying something with a timeout or something. But I'm like, bro, so if he can stay out of the way, the defense, Dan Quinn, Trayvon Diggs, hey, man, I'm going to tell you right now, Trayvon Diggs, it's going to be a situation here pretty soon. I started to say it last week, but I'm not going to not say it this week. It's going to be a situation like Dion where he just – and Troy Aikman stole my thunder because he mentioned it during the broadcast, and I said, damn, Troy stole my thunder right there because I meant to say it last week and didn't. And I said, he's going to take up a whole side of the field. Pretty soon, you're not going to even throw his way. The ball skills that this guy has, and he's a former wide receiver. You see that play he made, man? His makeup speed, and he looked like that football was his, like he was playing offense, like, that's mine. And he went up and high pointed it, Eddie, even on that pick six that he got a couple of weeks ago. Bam. I mean, so his instincts, he's a ball hawk. He's a ball hawk, and it's going to get to the point where he just takes away a completely side of the field. I like the way Anthony Brown is playing. So, again, I like the chemistry, the pass rush. Of course, Michael Parsons, superstar. And I like what Randy Gregory is doing. I predicted before the season that he would get 12 sacks. Remember when I did that? He's at 2 right now, but he's been so close on so many of those sacks. But I like what he's doing. He's gotten his life together, and he's realized that, hey, this is a great opportunity I have right here. So that's a top 3 talent. He would have been a top 3 draft pick when he came out of Nebraska. Then, of course, so hopefully he's gotten through the drug issues, and he's realizing, hey, man, this is what I wanted to do my whole life, and making this kind of money, I mean, let me get my act together and quit jocking that weed, if that's what it was, if that's because he was in the program, so they were probably testing him for that, and who knows what else. But I like the way he's playing. Dexter Lawrence is not back, but I like the way they're playing as a whole, man. They just seem like they all believe they're all on one accord, and I like what I'm seeing. So we'll see. Hey, I hate the Giants. I hate that for Saquon Barkley. Of course, I won me some money on that game too, but that's a story for another day. But I hate that about Saquon Barkley, man. I'm a Saquon Barkley fan. Now, Kadarius Toney, they found him a star right there. He can ball out. I liked him when he was at Florida. And I'm going to tell you something else. He's wearing number 89. He's coming in right now. He's doing all the right things. I'm going to come in. I'm going to wear number 89. The way he's playing, he looks like he's going to be their main guy as far as wide receiver for the next 10 years. So next year he'll be wearing his college number 1. I guarantee you that.
He had a really good game.
You heard it here first. He's not wearing number 89 next year. That guy's the real deal, man. And Saquon, I hate that for Saquon. Just got back from that knee injury and ankle blue. I mean, I hated to see Saquon going out like that, man. But, hey, divisional game. And I hated that for Daniel
Jones.
I hated that for Daniel Jones.
He'll be back. He got his bell rung.
When he stumbled on that replay, I said, oh, man, that's not good, bro.
No, he was going to. We knew watching the game, he was done for the game. You could tell he definitely hit the ground hard. He got hit hard. Helmet-to-helmet shot there.
I was glad they got him out
on top of him.
As far as protecting him. Yeah, right.
Yeah, he was done for the day.
Yeah.
But as far as the Cowboys, before I talk about the Giants a little bit, the Cowboys, obviously, you go through their schedule, you look at the teams they've played. They went down to the wire with the defending Super Bowl champs. They beat a really good Chargers team. They dominated the Eagles. They really put it on a Panthers team. The game really wasn't as close as the score says it is, 36-28. Early on, it was close, and the Cowboys just took off. And then, of course, they take care of business against the Giants.
Even though the Giants were depleted, the old Cowboys would have lost that game. They would have found a way to lose.
You talk about a Super Bowl run,
who you're supposed to be.
It's the way the defense is playing. The offense has always been good. They've been at or near the top of the league for the past couple years, minus, sans the year with Dak, where he went down. But usually when they've got their full arsenal of weapons, they put up a lot of yards and they'll score a lot of points. This year they're scoring more points than they
they're getting takeaways.
But that's what I was going to say. It's because the defense is so good. Trayvon Diggs is playing out of his mind. I don't know how long this is going to last, but it seems like Dan Quinn is doing a really good job of scheming up ways to put him in a position where he
doesn't get another interception, that's still a great year. 5 interceptions,
where he has his eye on the quarterback at all times, and he can make a play on the football. He's almost kind of in a place where he could play, sort of like a rover safety position almost.
Well, remember I said I thought he'd be a great free safety.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't realize he had that kind of speed.
He's a great cornerback. It seems like he's always got his eyes on the football, and he's able to make a break on it. He's doing a phenomenal job. He talked about. He's a former wide receiver, and when he got moved to cornerback, he was really upset about it. He talked with family members about it. But now he's seeing at the NFL level and how good he is, how much playing wide receiver back then, how much it's helped him now because he really doesn't drop the football. And I think he did have one interception dropped in this game. He actually should have had another one, add to the list.
He did, where he broke on it, where he undercut the receiver.
Yeah, that's just how.
He's a ball hog, man. He has those instincts.
But that's how Dan Quinn is using him in this defense. And that's what's really impressive. That Dan,
he's putting them in a position to succeed.
Yeah, Dan knows where they want to go with the football in certain times, and that if he puts Diggs in that position, in that type of zone, that he's going to be able to make a play on the football. Right. Doing a good job hiding him and making him sort of a lurk-type defender. It's been fantastic. If the defense continues to play the way they played, I could easily see the Cowboys making a run deep into the playoffs. Let's hope everybody stays healthy. Let's hope that they continue to roll the way they're rolling. But to me, the offense is chalk. You're getting a really good season so far out of Zeke. Tony Pollard is emerging as well, where he's flashing the pass. Now it's
I like that change of pace.
Every game kind of thing where he's giving you consistent production.
And Zeke is getting some rest.
Zeke.
Right.
Yeah, he's spelling Zeke, and Zeke's having another dominant year. Things looking up for the Cowboys as they continue to roll. And they face a Patriots team next week that's coming off a tough game against the Texans, but they're going to get healthier. I know they are down several offensive linemen. They're going to get those guys back.
Right.
And let's see what Dan Quinn can dial up for Mac Jones, who has been each and every week showing steady and gradual improvement, running that Josh McDaniels offense.
He's methodically driving up and down the field, and he's the type of quarterback, he's not going to beat himself. So he's the type of quarterback, he's coming in with that IQ already. They say he studies real hard. And they found a way to get that win against the Texans, and we'll definitely talk about the Chiefs here in a second. But, yeah, man, I think my Cowboys, I think they're definitely here to stay as far as being
And I didn't get a chance to tell you, the Giants, they played really well in that game. They showed some stuff on offense. that they haven't been able to do so far all season long, you know. And they were down Kenny Galladay. You're down.
They were down a lot of players.
Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
And Kadarius Toney, he's making the most of these opportunities that he's getting to play.
Sterling Shepard.
Sterling Shepard, that's another one. He's actually still going to be fourth in the pecking order. Now, they're going to find a way to get him more involved in this offense. I don't know how long all three of those guys are going to be out. Yes. But they're certainly going to find a way to get him more involved.
They definitely are.
But I want to see if the consistency's there, you know.
Right.
I'm not ready to crown his ass.
No, I got you.
Yet,
I got you.
But,
no.
But,
that's real.
He had a really good game where early on, he was struggling mightily.
Oh, see, now that's the first game I've seen him play.
Oh, yes, that's what I'm saying. Early on in the season, he was struggling mightily.
Okay, well, here's the thing with that. Okay, I mean, you're right. And I don't want to crown him either, but, well, I guess I did, saying he's going to be great. But I think he is. I mean, just seeing his talent from what I saw the other day, and it's hard for receivers sometimes to come into the league and just tear it up early on. I mean, if you remember, you look at Jamar Chase in the preseason, and that's the same thing where he was dropping passes, and he missed his senior season of football at LSU.
So he got his legs up under him. Right. The way he was dropping passes. And now, look, he's been fantastic.
Got used to the speed and got his legs back under him. And Jerry Rice did that. The best receiver of all time. Jerry Rice, rookie season, he couldn't catch a cold. As great as he is. And he got down on himself for a second. And the first couple of games, he dropped a couple of passes all through preseason. And then the rest is history. Even his rookie year, he was all-pro status. I mean, doing it on Monday Night Football against the Rams. I mean, so once they catch that group, he seems like the guy, the point I'm getting to, Kadarius Toney seems like a guy. I saw the talent in Florida. I see the talent in the NFL now. If Daniel Jones can continue to evolve, and if your boy, the offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett, I don't know why. If Jason Garrett, don't call him Sean Payton, if he could really get the ball to him and be creative on offense. And so we'll see. But I like what I'm seeing from Kadarius Toney.
Your boy, Jason Garrett. That was your boy for a while. But like I said, that offense played really well in spite of all the injuries. Saquon going down. Devin Booker comes in and has a good game. Toney filling in, for the likes of Galladay, who went out. Midway through, and no Shepard and no Slayton. Yeah. I think they played really well.
Offensive line,
they did for the circumstances, and they're a team that Giants.
Give me my money.
The Giants are always a team that they seem to surprise you at times, and when they get rolling, they play really well. And there's going to be a matchup against them later on down the year, and if this is a little bit of a sign where the direction that team's going, the way they played in this game, that's going to be a tough game on the slate later on as well. For the Cowboys.
And on any given Sunday, these NFL teams, you never know. So what the Cowboys have to do, and that's the thing, they have to realize how good they are, but they have to continue to want to get better, realize that they're not all the way there yet, and they have to continue to work hard and practice every single day and perfect their craft. And, of course, the coaches have to do the same thing. They have to continue to evolve as coaches. Again, I love the play calling, the style of Kellen Moore. He's going to be a head coach. He's going to be a head coach. But he knows the right balance. He knows the right balance.
Now, of course, we got heavy into talking about the games.
Yeah.
John Gruden is.
Oh, we're good on time.
Yeah,
okay.
John Gruden is no longer the head coach of what was a promising Las Vegas Raiders team that came right out of the gate. Won 3 in a row. They had recently lost 2, but you were looking at that offense, and you're looking at Derek Carr and the way he plays with Gruden, and the way they won that game in overtime with it was a 3rd and 1, and they went deep for a touchdown. You're just like, man,
they came out the gates like Secretariat.
This is a John Gruden. This John Gruden football is exciting that they're playing in Vegas, and then now these emails come out. All kinds of stuff being said by John Gruden. He's forced to resign. It just came down today. Tampa Bay took his name out of the Ring of Honor.
What?
Yeah, things are going bad for John Gruden. But I'm wondering if they're looking around the league and wondering who would be a nice replacement for one Gruden, one who can bring an exciting offense to town.
Well, they're going to give it
and I'm thinking they're going to have their cross. Well, I know who's going to fill in as the interim.
For the interim, yeah.
But I think they may have their crosshairs set down south on one Kellen Moore. I think he's almost the way he's been able to consistently put together a good offense and a creative offense.
Then you have some Josh Jacobs over there. You have some weapons over there.
They may have their crosshairs set on Kellen Moore being the next vibrant young head coach. Maybe he could be a young Gruden type. You know,
right.
The kind of guys like Sean McVay.
Right.
You know, everybody's looking for the next Sean McVay. You know, ever since he took the Rams to the Super Bowl.
Because John Gruden, as a coach,
that's what you're looking for, you know.
Yeah.
But I also think Eric Bieniemy is going to be high on the list too.
I hope Eric Bieniemy gets a look right there as well. I ultimately hope they hire Eric Bieniemy.
But
it's time for him to get hired.
Before we talk about that, give me
He's
a take
put
on
in his work.
What kind of? This was like a shocking thing when it came down that Gruden was involved in this kind of stuff.
Now I hadn't read any of the emails because of work schedule and doing some things earlier that I had to do, but But go ahead.
I mean, it was just shocking to find out that not only was, he's saying things, people say stuff whenever they think it's private.
Right.
And now,
racist comments.
I haven't seen
misogynist.
Everything that said, I haven't seen all the emails.
Homophobic.
But there was definitely homophobic stuff, as he mentioned about Goodell forcing Jeff Fisher to draft Michael Sam.
Right.
He used the F word, and
he was just tripping,
the four-letter one.
Well, to think about it.
But yeah, and then he had knocks on, or making jokes about DeMaurice Smith, talking about his lips and stuff like that.
Right.
There's a lot of insinuation and stuff in that, and it's bad. It's bad that it's a bad look for the NFL. It's a bad look for him. I don't know how the locker room feels about it, but I do know that I don't think you'll see John Gruden walking on the NFL sideline ever again.
You won't see John Gruden walking on an NFL sideline, and probably not even as an analyst, as great as an analyst.
He was really good at doing as well.
He was very good at that, and I think that's when all this happened, from what I understand. But the thing about it, as far as him as a coach, I always thought, and you've heard me say it. Now, as much as I didn't know him off the field like Keyshawn and this and that. From what I've seen of him, I hadn't had any reason to think he was racist. So some of these things were very surprising. Now, was he just talking or whatever? Keyshawn says, listen to Keyshawn. They're like, he's just that type of guy. And what he has really, now as far as him as a coach, he's mediocre. He won with Tony Dungy's team. And other than that, he's been very mediocre as a coach. And I think he was living off that Super Bowl, again, which he won with Tony Dungy's team. And I think people got enamored with him, his off-the-field antics as far as going to train the quarterbacks and how bright he sounded and how much of a genius he sounded. And then, of course, he was a great analyst and how much of a genius he sounded like. But the thing about it is, you can't do that. It shows you that things come back to haunt you. And I know we all, at certain times, maybe he's not a racist. But obviously, like I heard someone say, and they phrased it right, he's definitely immature. That was definitely immature of him to do that. You see how things come back and get you. And to put that stuff in emails, to do that, no matter where he's working, to put that in emails, now they went all the way back. Now, wasn't it under the Washington Redskins at that time or whatever? But to put that type of stuff in emails, it shows you how he thinks. And you know how sometimes we all can say something, whether it's black people or white people, we say things, keeping it 100. Of course, we say things when we're not around them, as,
certainly.
They're doing this and they're doing that.
Say stuff in the presence of their people.
Right. Now, the thing about it, right.
They're like, I won't say that unless I'm absolutely positive there's nobody else around.
Absolutely. The thing about it, for him to put it in emails like that, and Keyshawn, obviously now, one thing I don't like is a two-faced person. And obviously, the only thing I knew about him and Keyshawn's relationship was the fact that all I remember was the sideline incident. So I didn't know Keyshawn. Keyshawn went all in on him. He said, hey, he's not a good guy. So think about it, real recognize real. So if he's around him and he feels like John Gruden was two-faced, Keyshawn called him to the carpet on it. Now, again, I don't know John Gruden in that regard. And maybe he feels like he said he's not a racist, and that's the point I was making right there. You say some things, even though you know in your heart of hearts that you just love people and you want to see the best in everybody and you respect everyone and this and that. Then, of course, when you're not around, like you say, when people are not around, of course you're going to say certain things, whatever. But it came back to haunt him. And he has to know you can't put that in writing like that and say those type of things, especially those type of things, racist remarks. talking about, I mean, just disrespecting women. And hey, man, dude was tripping. So he's out of there. He's out of there.
Yeah, he's gone. And, you know, and a lot of it, I think, has to do with, you know, Gruden, not that I'm letting him off the hook or whatever. He's maybe one of those guys that just plays to whoever he's talking to. And a lot of these emails are having to do with Bruce Allen.
Right.
And, you know, for whatever reason and how he was keeping their relationship, you know, real cozy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you it's got a lot of people shook because a lot of people operate that way because the NFL's a business, you know. And sometimes the best way to get business deals done is to make sure that the person you're trying to do business with really, really likes you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they like those type of qualities in a person, you may display those type of qualities to them.
Right.
And, you know, this is a Redskins team that changed their name because of racial issues. There's a lot of stuff surrounding Dan Snyder. There's a lot of stuff surrounding Bruce Allen.
Let me touch on what you just said
They're
right
in hot water.
Yeah, I mean, of course. And to that right there, absolutely. But at the same time, if you're trying to get in good with somebody as well, I mean, obviously, whatever type of relationship he had with Bruce, but you can't put that in writing in a position like that.
No, he screwed up.
Yeah, you can't put that in writing and let those type of feelings be known, even though you've probably talked to this guy in person like that. And you see what happened. I mean, people started investigating the situation, and you can't do that. You have to be conscious of the situation, the predicament that you're putting yourself in, and you might be cool with this guy, and he might like the fact that you're being yourself and all this and that, but at the end of the day, you want to try to keep things as professional as possible. If you do have that type of relationship with him, you can't leave a paper trail like that. You can't.
And then you look at the other side of the coin, and you start thinking about what else these emails might expose as far as the NFL and their hands in the inner working of individual franchises, you know, because if this stuff is true, you know that Goodell was lobbying, pushing, and maybe even forcing Jeff Fisher and the Rams to draft Michael Sam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if any little piece of that is true, you know, that is very damning for Roger Goodell and the NFL as a whole.
It's a stain on the NFL.
This is supposed to be a sport where the teams operate, the teams compete, and there is no influence from the shield or from the business as far as how team decisions are made. If we're talking about Roger Goodell influencing a team's draft, I think all of a sudden now that puts everything that the NFL puts on field in question.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, it was definitely a bad look. It's a stain on the NFL, and I think they were going to, after they caught wind of the DeMaurice Smith email that was directed at him, I think that they were going to let him make it with that apology. And then the other email surfaced, you know, so that was just nail in the coffin right there because they're like, okay, this guy's just, he was just doing too much. And again, even though he was not employed by the NFL at that time, they have to take action just to save face. I mean, they can't have a guy like that coaching in the NFL that has those type of feelings and put them out there publicly, especially being the leader of a team of one of their franchises. And Chuck, so again, Keyshawn went all in on him. So obviously there's some things where Keyshawn he saw right through him by dealing with him every day, person to person or whatever, and he saw right through him. And again, real recognized real. And obviously to Keyshawn, John Gruden was not real. He was two-faced, and so he called him to the carpet for it. But now he's out of there. So who knows how he's going to land? Of course, you know, financially, he's set for the rest of his life. But it's going to take a while for that stain. He's probably going to land back on his feet because that's just what people do. Somebody's going to give him a chance just because they're going to do it to rub it in the face of all the black people who might be saying something about the racial comments or all, you know, posturing, classic case of posturing, and just showing that, hey, you know what? That's my guy. He's in. And then he's going to do all the right things. And in time, people will probably forgive him. I mean, it happens in America.
It's the age of second chances.
It's the age of second chances.
If you're good at what you do, somebody will give you a chance.
And he's great as an analyst.
Even if it's over there with O'Keefe
Even if it has to be college.
And Alabama A&M. You may have to start at the very bottom. You know, you never know.
And plus the fact that he apologized.
But right now, I think we're putting the cart ahead of the horse. He's made good money his entire career, especially here at the tail end with ESPN and then the huge contract that he got from the Raiders. I know they're going to, incur some of that back, but he's made really good money. It wouldn't surprise me if we just see John Gruden retire and then maybe hold his own version of his quarterback camp and stuff like that, because he's so good at evaluating these guys. He's really good at getting them in front of the camera and helping them open up, so NFL teams can get a feel for these guys and who they are and how they study film. Something he's been really good at it. So I can see him doing that kind of thing. But mostly it's going to be a retired John Gruden.
And at least for a while. Till this simmers down, at least for a while, at least a year, maybe two. And again, someone is going to take a chance on him for some of the reasons that I just said, and the fact that they know he's great at what he does if he wants to be an analyst again. But then those people are going to have to think about the pushback publicly and the public scrutiny that they're going to be under for bringing a guy in like that. So again, whoever does hire him, you know how they're thinking. They're thinking like, okay, damn what y'all think, and they're not sensitive. As a matter of fact, they're insensitive to the feelings of the majority of the public. A few different communities, so John Gruden is out of there with the Raiders, and of course the Chiefs are in that division.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up next. The Chiefs, they're coming off a tough loss to the Bills. Look, the Buffalo Bills, they were my Super Bowl pick out of the AFC this year, and they look like they are just head and shoulders above everybody else. That offense is almost unstoppable, especially with the emergence of one Dawson Knox at tight end. He seems like he could be the next big thing at tight end. He's not as big as Kelsey, but this guy has a knack for finding open areas in the middle of the field, and Josh Allen has a knack for being able to.
That's your Super Bowl pick, huh?
Yeah.
Buffalo, okay.
Against
I thought about it the other night. My pick was Kansas City.
Green Bay has bounced back.
You're looking right now,
after a bad start. So I feel like I'm still in there. But I think
my Cowboys are going to beat Green Bay this year.
Certainly looks like. I told my buddy who likes to bet on football a whole lot. I said, man, you need to go bet the house on the Bills tonight. I feel like there's no way it's even going to be close.
I was surprised,
and I was on point with
that's
that.
Why I didn't watch all the Astros games. It's just the way they're
playing. That defense is so freaking good, and then Josh Allen, his ability to just make these amazing throws into tight windows along the sidelines, and he's got a cannon when he wants to throw deep. The guy's unbelievable. He is so much better than I thought he was going to be coming into the league.
Yeah, because I remember when you were kind of down on Josh Allen, and I saw now this is after his rookie year, which you had the right to be. He hadn't lived up to the potential yet, but I saw the upside, and I thought that he needed to get some pieces around him, and he needed to get more accurate, and he just had to become more of a student of the game, which he has. But speaking of your praise, to piggyback off of your praise of Josh Allen, that's what I was so thoroughly impressed with. What Kansas City is doing right now, I'll talk about them in a second. The defense is flat out horrible. Sorensen on the back end right there, he needs to be benched, or I don't know, but they're getting Chris Jones back, but they're horrible. But Buffalo and Mahomes, he's throwing a lot of picks. He said now he's going to have to tighten up on that side of the ball and become more focused, realize they are beatable. Buffalo definitely after that game seems like the team to beat. Josh Allen can make every throw like you said, but what I'm so impressed about with Josh Allen, I'm impressed with how mobile he is. He is super athletic. For a guy that size to run away from people the way he does, that's why they can utilize him on certain plays, run option plays, because he is a legitimate threat. He's just not a big quarterback that can scramble. This guy can move. He can literally move, and he can make every throw. He has playmakers around him, and the defense is tough. The game plan that they came in there with, and he's a great leader right now. He seems like he loves the game, and that's what some people questioned early on was how much does he really love the game? And he's a competitor. He's a competitor to the highest degree. Buffalo and that team as a whole, they're gritty, they're grimy. You look at what Leslie Frazier is doing on the defensive side of the ball, the way he kept everything with Kansas City in front of them. And that's what a lot of people are going to start doing now with Kansas City. They're going to play a lot of that zone, keep safeties back. And they're going to make you drive methodically down the field.
And then also you got to be able to get after.
They're going to make you play methodically.
Front four, which Buffalo does tremendously.
Well, that's where I was going. The defense is aggressive, very aggressive.
Because if you can't get to Pat Mahomes, you think you're just to stay behind everything. He's still going to pick you apart. You got to be able to get pressure in his face,
right?
In a timely manner for that.
And they definitely
strategy
did that
to work, and they did that.
But I think it was some times too. And I think that's why Mahomes is so frustrated. It was some times where he had enough time to complete that pass. He's throwing the ball in the dirt, so they obviously had him flustered. That was kind of surprising that I saw Mahomes. And credit to Leslie Frazier and that Buffalo defense. And McDermott, I mean, who's doing a great job at head coach. A great job. And they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. But I was surprised on how flustered and frustrated that Mahomes looked. And I thought he would bounce out of it. Oh, it's the Chiefs. They're going to find a way, And, of course, I was turning back. My off days are Sunday and Monday. So Sunday football, I'm on it all, I'm off Monday, so I can do whatever. So because, it was a rain delay in that game, a whole hour.
Yep.
So Buffalo, they came back out after the rain delay, and I said, okay, Kansas City's going to get it going now, whatever. Buffalo just stayed. They kept the pressure on them. They kept bringing it on defense. They made it tough on Mahomes. It reminded me of when the Patriots played the Rams, the cutesy Rams, and that cute offense back in the Super Bowl, and how they just out-physical them, and they were just aggressive.
Or the way the Buccaneers played against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's what it made me think about, the way they really got after them. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like, the plays that normally Mahomes would be able to thread the ball into, be able to thread the needle, it seemed like, no, they were just defenders were getting hands there.
Yeah. Hits
were drawing the ball loose. I mean, just a fast-flying defense.
Yeah. And they fly around.
The way they've been able to get after him, it's amazing. And then what I really like about this Bills team is they go out and get what they need. You talk about the development of Josh Allen. What did Josh Allen need? He was struggling. Okay, we need a legitimate number one receiver for him to be able to lean on. We've got young guys that are pretty good, but we need that stalwart. So they went and got him. Okay, and then you come back this year and you're like, what do we really need? Okay, we need that secondary guy that we know that can run good routes and can take the eyes off of Stephon Diggs so we can start to open this offense up, and we're just not so focused on, one Diggs all the time.
Samuel.
Exactly. And they bring in Emmanuel Sanders. And he's been fantastic. That offense now has balance on both sides of the field.
I like the way Emmanuel Sanders is playing.
You're not so dependent on young guys. I mean, they've got young guys that do flash. I mean, of course, they like Beasley, but, he's exclusively a slot receiver. Mm-hmm. Gabriel Davis is another guy that flashes, and then they got the speed of Isaiah McKenzie, who's typically a return guy, but he gets on the field and he can get behind some defenders. But those would be the guys typically that Josh Allen was leaning on when the defense decided to take away Stephon Diggs. Now they can't just focus on him 100% because you've got Emmanuel Sanders having a renaissance year this year, and that offense now is completely wide open, and they've struggled to run the football in the past, but now that slowly but surely is not going to be the case anymore now that they're able to spread things out across the field. Dawson Knox is emerging. When you've got a tight end, all of a sudden that now becomes a factor. You have to get the eyes of the safety, the eyes of the linebacker on that tight end.
Right.
That really helps open up things in the running game for one Singletary and Zach Moss.
I want to speak on that when you said about a tight end right there, because I saw Josh Gordon get into the game, and he looks like they could probably put him at tight end. I mean, a physical specimen, but of course they got him so they can throw up jump balls and help in the red zone. And of course they went and scooped him up like, hey, you want to come here and play? Okay. So I think Andy Reid, of course he's not going to come in and be the number one receiver, not even the number 4 receiver, but he got him because he's hoping that some of that talent is still there, and maybe he can splash every now and then. But at the same time, of course, you have a Tyreek Hill who's 5'8", 5'7". You have these other guys, but now you have a guy that's 6'3", 6'4". I say you let him learn some tight end behind, and that type of offense behind Kelsey, and maybe you get him on the field as a tight end sometime to spell Kelsey and let him work the middle of the field, because he's not going to be the Josh Gordon of 2000 and whenever he had that for the Browns, 14 or whatever it was or something like that.
Right.
I mean, now you put him at tight end at 6'4", a big old body like that has wide receiver skills, and you let him run certain routes, and I think Josh Gordon can be very effective.
Yeah, I think they actually pushed him into the game probably a little bit sooner than they wanted.
Yeah, they did.
Because they realized, like, look, this is
ball to Josh.
This is a team that's used to dominating, and now here they find themselves 2-3, under 500 in a very competitive AFC West where now all of a sudden you're not guaranteed wins against Denver and Los Angeles and against Vegas. You're not guaranteed those wins. Those teams are going to be the teams that give you some of your toughest games.
Yeah.
And, the Chiefs realize that they can't afford to keep losing games the way they're losing games. And they don't want to find themselves playing on the road in the playoffs, something they haven't had to do.
Right.
And
that's the thing. I said all that about the Chiefs. Not to cut you off. You finish your point.
Go ahead. I'm just saying it's a situation where they feel like things could get this season could get away from them.
Yeah, it could.
As good as they are,
and
it could get away from them.
We're going to talk about the Chargers in a second. I mean, absolutely it could. And now they're 2-3. And again, I'm not going to write them off just yet.
No,
I'm gonna stick with my Super Bowl pick. I'm gonna stick.
But I guarantee you they're concerned.
I have a lot more trouble. Yeah, I have a lot more trepidation in making that pick. Continuing to watch that defense. I mean, because even if you get Chris Jones back, I just don't see where that defense. And then you have teams again that's going to play them a certain way on the offensive side of the ball.
Where the hell has Frank Clark been? I mean, you traded a first-round pick for this guy, and he's been on the back of a milk carton.
Now you have Allaire. He's injured with a sprained knee.
He's not putting any pressure on quarterbacks, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That really hurts that defense because when they're getting after the quarterback, all of a sudden that back end becomes an all-world back end. This year, not so much. They've been beat over the top a lot, man.
You're right. Hey, so we'll see. Now, hold on real quick before we talk about the Chargers real quick and whoever else you want to talk about. And the damn can't let Tom Brady escape with that, bro. What he's doing is stupid, Eddie. What he's doing is at 44, man, what Tom Brady is doing at 44, I mean, he's a guy out there like he's playing 7-on-7. I mean, he's just taking his pick. I mean, what this guy is doing at 44 years old, he is the GOAT. There's no question about that. But, again, Antonio Brown looks happy. He looks great. He stayed out of trouble. The way he has that team, he has a Super Bowl, obviously. We know that. He has a Super Bowl ring at his disposal. But 4-1 again this season and putting up gaudy numbers week in and week out. Looks like the Tom Brady, looks like he's better than he is. Looks like he's better than he was when at the peak of it. I mean, the guy is special, man. 5 touchdowns the other day, threw for over 400 yards, getting everybody involved. And just think, they haven't even gotten O.J. Howard going yet. And you probably won't even need to. But, I mean, think about it, man. Mike Evans, he's getting him involved. Antonio Brown going for over 100 yards. I mean, he's just spreading the ball around. The offensive line is protecting him. But he doesn't seem like he's slowing down a lick.
No.
The guy is special. Every week in and week out. I'm like, okay, maybe this week he's going to show his age, and he's probably really going to have a drop off. And it probably won't necessarily be because of his age, but you might see some he's making all the throws. And what did I say before he went to Tampa? And, of course, he's played in other venues as well. I said he's going to play in that warm weather. The ball is going to travel. It's not going to be like he's playing in New England in the winter. And the ball is going to travel, and he's looking good. He's making every throw you could think of. But, they are who they are. Brady is still Brady. And the Chargers are a team right now.
Yeah, they beat the dog. The Buccaneers beat the dog out of the Dolphins. And every time the Dolphins
are
drop
taking
another game, I'm just wondering when that phone's going to start ringing over there off Kirby. when they want to know what it's going to take to get 4 over there.
Okay, so what do you think? Okay, so here's the thing with the Texans. Davis Mills is not playing bad football. The Texans, I actually hate the Texans lost that game. I mean, the Chargers are my team now in the AFC. I like what the Chargers are doing. Justin Herbert, my first cousin is the wide receivers coach. I know I've said that a number of times over the past few weeks. That's my last time saying that. But the Chargers, until we have him on the show again, and he's been on the show as a call-in guest, we're going to get these phones back rolling and start having some call-in guests again and some call-ins and doing it like that. But the Chargers are my team. I like what they're doing on both sides of the ball. They seem to be legit. Justin Herbert, Eckler, Mike Williams at receiver, Keenan Allen we all know about, and, of course, Bosa on the other side, Durbin. I mean, so the Chargers are legit. I mean, but what's going on with the Texans, and how do you see Davis Mills? Are the Texans going to draft a quarterback with the top pick in the draft? Or whatever pick they get?
I'm not so sure. I don't think so. Just the way that this college season is unfolded so far, to me there isn't anybody that's standing out that says that this is the guy.
Right.
And I think the season's going to continue on. I think we're still going to have questions as to that when the season ends. Barring some type of dominant playoff performance.
How did they let New England come back in that game?
You know, the Texans shot themselves in the foot that game. They had a nice big lead, but they did some crazy things.
Even though I was watching the Cowboys.
You know, the
flick back.
The play everybody talks about is like the punt where they went through some crazy shift where the punter comes up under center like he's going to fake it. Then he backs up and he's going to punt it, and he ends up punting it into the back of the head of Terrence Mitchell. And it's
a 0-yard punt.
0-yard punt. And
that's when the momentum
it ultimately shifted. Even before that, you know, there were moments where the Texans had an opportunity to really put things away. I think about the interception that took the Texans all the way down inside the 10. And then immediately after that, you get a holding penalty from one Titus Howard, and that backs them up 10. They end up settling for 3. And you have to think, man, that was a great opportunity to extend what was already a good lead.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then it just showed, you know, that the Patriots are just they're a little bit better coaching. Belichick, he handled the clock and he had a plan in the second half coming out of the locker room. You know, you could tell they adjusted well, while the Texans did not. And because they didn't, I mean, clearly they got their doors blown off in the second half. But there was a lot of good things that they did. There was a lot of promising things out of Davis Mills.
I said a lot of positives with the team.
You know, he was not afraid to vacate the pocket if he needed to without just tucking it and running it like you see so many young quarterbacks do. He'll vacate the pocket. He's keeping his eyes downfield. One Chris Moore, you know, the veteran, been in the league 5-6 years, bounced around. He's out there looking like a star early on. Davis Mills connecting with him on a big 65-yard touchdown where Mills extended the play out of the pocket and then threw a ball where only his receiver could get it. Otherwise, it was going to go out of bounds. I mean, it was right over the outstretched hand of the defender there. I don't remember who it was, but it was just showing that he had the poise and he wasn't afraid to try to push the limits to make plays. So there's a lot of stuff to build on there with Davis Mills. I think he played extremely well. He did have some bad throws where you're like, damn, what were you doing, son? And you know, you got to get rid of the football. You can't take a sack there.
But it kind of reminds me of his counterpart the other day, or the guy he was going against, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, yeah. I mean, he did.
They kind of have a similar game in a way. He's not Mac Jones.
That made you wonder, or made you think, okay, you know, this is why a lot of people had a high grade on this kid. And he doesn't look like he's throwing the ball hard, but man, it gets there in a hurry.
Yeah,
and that's one thing about him. Like, even though he'd be under duress, he still has like this Eli Manning-esque about him. You know, like he just that same look on his face. Not too high, not too low, but just like, oh shucks, we're just playing football on Sundays, you know. And sometimes those are the best guys because they don't get too high, you know.
Or get too low.
They don't get rattled real easily. You know, you could be beating kicking their face in, and they're still going to come back and give you exactly what they would give you if they were up, up 17 or down 17.
Real talk.
So there's a lot of stuff to work with there with Davis Mills. Nobody's going to crown him the guy yet.
Right.
Nobody's going to say you're not drafting a quarterback anymore. You know, nobody's going to say we don't need Deshaun. It's just I think he took a big step in the right direction after having what was probably the toughest game you could have. Obviously, it was his toughest game, but it's about as tough a game a quarterback can have against Buffalo. We know how fierce they are. They just gave the best quarterback in the game fits.
The Texans have had a tough schedule.
You know, he comes back with a very big bounce-back game, a bounce-back performance, and he showed a lot of capability back there, and right now at this point in the season, that's about all the Texans can ask for. You know, they're this close to having a fire sale over there. There's rumors that they have lots of players on the trade block. I wonder how far they're going to blow it up, Greg.
Okay. Now you see the stands are empty. So as far as an organization with the Texans, do you think that Deshaun Watson move to not play him? I mean, you think if that was, I'll say it, if he wasn't a black quarterback and he still had his stuff hanging over his head, but he hadn't been to court or found guilty per se, would they be playing a white quarterback? And the fact that they're not playing Deshaun Watson, I think they've lost a lot of ticket sales because of that. And a lot of people are just not invested in the Texans for whatever reason. Now, how do they bounce back from that as far as deciding not only to trade Deshaun? Of course, Deshaun, he actually said that he wanted to get traded. But if you don't try to reconcile, you make it known right out the gates that you're not trying to reconcile with Deshaun Watson. You're going to make him inactive. Because I really don't know how serious they were about maybe letting Deshaun Watson play and giving them the best chance to win. So you're taking a hit in the pocketbooks right now. There's not a lot of people in the stands right now. People don't feel good about this team. So do you think that Cully is I like some of the things I'm seeing, some of the positives that you speak of, but for us, if they don't get a big-time quarterback in here, will some of the people hold their resentment against them and continue to stay away that feel like they handled the Deshaun Watson situation, whether it be not acquiescing to some of his wants and whatever it may be? But how do you think they move forward as an organization with getting people back on board?
Well, the first thing that's going to get people back on board is they got to get a big haul for Deshaun Watson. They can't afford to not, get what they've been asking for, 3 first-round picks.
Like the Herschel Walker type stuff.
3 second-round picks. They've got to get a huge haul for Deshaun Watson. That's one. And then 2, they've got to win. And I think early on, I don't think it has to do with black, white, or anything like that. A lot of it has to do with Deshaun made up his mind he wasn't going to play for the Texans. He knows that if he gets back out on that field.
I'm just saying some people may feel that way.
If he gets back out on that field in that uniform, he may end up falling back in love with the team when he could go pretty much anywhere he wants. Technically, he could go to Miami if he wants. He could go all over the place, Philly, whatever. Washington, the potential is endless. The possibilities are endless. But he was never going to step back on the field for the Texans, so they were faced with an impossible task. They brought in Tyrod Taylor, and look, right out of the gate, all of a sudden, people were thinking, hey, this Texans offense has something with Tyrod Taylor. He's running it pretty well. They're competing. They beat the dog out of the Jaguars. They were right in there with the Browns. A lot of people feel like they would have beat Carolina had they had Tyrod Taylor. So I think they were just trying to get by, with how they could.
Yeah.
Tyrod going down,
but do you think Deshaun wanted to play and they just said, no, you're not going to play?
Absolutely not. I think that if Deshaun Watson wanted to play, they'd put him out there and let him play because
that's what we were questioning for a while in here.
Think about it. If you're like,
because Deshaun hasn't said anything, so we don't know.
If you're in the market for like a car, like there's a car you've had your eye on, but you just don't see any out there. But if you get the opportunity, like, man, I really want to buy this car, but then somebody shows up in one, and you see it go by. They're at the same place you are, and it motivates you. You know what? I'm gonna go get that car. If people are GMs around the league were watching Deshaun Watson go out there and play football, they may not be able to resist themselves from going out and making a deal for that guy right then and there. No, I need him on my squad before he breaks his leg behind that putrid offensive line.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
I need him. I need to get him right now before somebody else calls and says I'm going to trade the house and the farm for him. So I guarantee you, if he wanted to get on the field for the Texans, they would put his ass out there because it would immediately take
I'm not so sure.
It would take the heat surrounding the trade. I think it would turn it.
I'm not so sure. I mean, hey, I would like to think that's what they would do.
Well, because you start thinking, if you're another team, you're like, well, he's playing over there.
Well,
he could be playing for us.
Maybe they thought they were going to get a haul with him not playing,
like God didn't smite them down because Deshaun Watson is playing.
Well,
let him play for us.
But here's the way they're looking at it too. I mean, not so much about him playing, but the public scrutiny and backlash. Are they trying to protect themselves?
If Deshaun Watson was throwing touchdowns in that building, it would be full.
I would like to think. Well, that's why I say people.
It would be full, man. If they said Deshaun Watson was starting on Sunday, that building would be full.
That's my point. So it's like, did Deshaun Watson not want to play?
He doesn't.
Or did the Texans, because of the public backlash and the fact that they want to trade this guy, but they want to get somebody to give in to the trade without him actually playing, because if he plays, all the backlash is going to come back to them because of whatever, Maybe they think they're going to take a hit as an organization, but they're saying they're already taking a hit.
You can't get any lower.
But that's my point. They're already taking a hit.
Exactly.
They're already taking a hit in the organization. But what we're speculating on, we don't know.
Appreciated or
we don't know because
respected team in the league.
All we know is the Texans said that he was inactive. We don't know if Deshaun wanted to play. Deshaun hasn't said anything. So who knows? I mean, that's what leaves a lot of people in limbo.
The report was that Deshaun said he was never going to wear a Texans uniform again. So that is the report. I guarantee you, if he wanted to play,
like I said, I hadn't heard Deshaun say anything.
They're not keeping him off the field.
I hadn't heard Deshaun say anything.
Is keeping Deshaun Watson off the field. If they were going to just not play him at all, if you wanted
I'm not so sure about that.
I guarantee you that's why they didn't put him on IR or something like that. That's why they're always keeping the possibility open.
Yeah.
Because if he walked through that door and said, hey, I'm ready to play Sunday, they're going to play him.
Thinking something might transpire too in his legal proceedings, and that you'll feel more comfortable about where he is and the black eye that it may or may not have on the organization.
All the talk
at
around
that
the league
time.
is barring some type of new information there that this is going to end. Deshaun Watson, his career is not going to be over. He's going to play. The suspension
Well, we know he's
going to
play
be
next season.
The suspension isn't going to be anything that a team can't overcome. And we don't even know how long it's going to be. Everybody assumed it was going to be some 6-8 full season game.
We have no idea.
16 games, 17 games. We really have no idea because so far it's been so quiet on that front that to me the time and all the everybody's being quiet. To me, it tells me there just really isn't that much out there that is going to shed Deshaun Watson in any worse light than he's already been shed in.
Yeah, I mean, hey, but do we know the Texans are thinking like that? Like, we've talked about some of the Texans' decisions over the past few years with the way that organization is ran, and sometimes they make decisions. They've made decisions lately that are just not astute. Now, a reasonable person would be thinking like you're talking about, but I question if the Texans are thinking with that kind of logic.
I guarantee you Nick Caserio was brought in, and when he was brought in, job number one was try to reconcile with Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
And once they realized they couldn't, they moved on. Okay. He wasn't going to waste too much time on it because there's so much work that needs to be done with
all
this
that
squad.
stuff came out. I mean, all of a sudden, just the timing, the way it came out, is like, come on, man. I mean, I don't want to get into no conspiracy type talk right now.
I'm telling you, if they knew for a fact that they were not going to play Deshaun Watson at all this season, they would have found a reason to put him on IR. It would have came up with a sprained ankle or something. They would have just put him on IR.
Well, maybe they don't want to put him on IR because they're leaving the possibility open if some other things transpire.
Look, it's
maybe
like
the case is dropped or thrown out. Now, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not because of how it's going to make them look as far as public perception. But if you have him come back right now, and of course they are probably thinking to that to some degree, but if you have him come back right now while there's no resolution to the matter and this is still just hanging over his head, maybe they feel that puts more of a stain on them because the accusations were so out there. Now, if something transpires and he's not on IR, if something transpires to where the judge throws the case out or whatever, then they feel better about, okay, well, this probably wasn't true. So it's just so much in the air right now with that situation and the fact that it's against women. I think the Texans are trying to, in a way, steer themselves away from that public scrutiny because it's assault on women.
Yeah,
I mean, it's speculation. I don't know exactly what they're thinking in their minds, but who knows?
I guarantee you, this is still a country where you have to be convicted, whatever. You could be crucified in the media, but like I said, the way that train was, had a full head of steam right when all that stuff came out, when Tony Busby couldn't stay off of Instagram and just all kinds of stuff was coming out. That train has come to a screeching halt. We haven't got any word of any new news on Deshaun Watson. So
we're really kicking
and I've even heard reports that
right now.
all the teams around in league circles, they feel like there isn't going to be anything worse that comes out. So to me, it's only a matter of time.
Who knows what they're thinking,
It's really only a matter of time.
They've been mom.
But the Texans, I guarantee you, they're like when your old lady gets mad and she's like, you need to sleep in the living room. And she goes to the bedroom, slams the door. But I walk over there and I'll jiggle the handle and it's not locked.
Yeah.
That means you can still come in there. You can still come in there and
it's time to make up.
But you're gonna come in there and make up with us.
Yeah.
We're not gonna come make up with you.
Absolutely.
So trust me, the Texans are that scorned lover.
Yeah.
But they're leaving the door unlocked. And they're hoping Deshaun Watson brings his nasty ass up in there and wants to play.
Gonna come in there with a towel on. Hey, but you know what? I guess we run out of time as far as other games, but there was a lot of good games this past weekend. It's not. I mean, if it's in the game, I want to look ahead to real quick. But I want your take on Kyrie still.
Well, look, Cardinals stay undefeated. All right, and the Bengals are still.
Cardinals stay undefeated.
The Bengals had a real tough game against the Packers. I know we want to talk a little bit about the Bengals because this is a team in a very tough AFC North. I don't think anybody was really. A lot of people were expecting this out of the Bengals. Look, they can compete with anybody.
Yeah.
They remind me a little bit of the Texans whenever Deshaun Watson was first drafted, and you look at they got some weapons over there. They got a really good young quarterback.
I love Joe Burrow,
and they find themselves in some games against teams. The best teams in the league. Yeah, exactly.
Grade A media, grade A radio.
They find themselves in some games, and look, the Bengals, they're going to be good, and they're going to be in there at the end of the year. I think the Bengals probably find a way to
I hate
steal.
they lost that game the
I
other
think
day.
they're going to find a way to steal one of them wild card spots.
Think so?
Burrow's only going to get better, and if Jamar Chase continues to play the way he's playing, look, he's going to be dominant for a long time.
A long time,
and I like the way
to go along with Joe Burrow.
You mentioned the
college
drops.
connection.
Yeah, them two together, LSU guys. You mentioned the drops early on in the season. Like I said, he was on the internet and memes. People were, they were dogging this guy because he's supposed to be this, big-time wide receiver, big-time prospect. Look.
I knew that was an aberration.
And the way he was just being honest about how the reason he struggles catching the ball is because he struggles seeing it, no stripes on the football. People
he had to get used to it, No,
I
got you.
Just being honest.
That makes sense.
But then
he's being transparent. I feel that.
He's come out of the gate, and he's probably had the best start to a young receiving career. I can't think of another receiver who's started as hot as he has.
And I really respect him even more because it shows you how he can overcome adversity and all that criticism that he was receiving at the beginning of the season. Oh, he's a bust and all this and that. And now you see him, he starts the season, and he's one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in football. I mean, the guy is living up to that 5th pick, and that's why it didn't move me when he had that situation going on earlier. I said, hey, the guy missed an entire season at LSU. I mean, he has to get his timing back. Like you said about the footballs, he made that point. And so it didn't surprise me when he came out the gates because the guy is special. And he's a great one-on-one guy. He can be a possession receiver or he can be a big play receiver and take the top off of a defense. But, hey, it's a lot more NFL we can talk about. We'll do it next week.
Yeah, the big game next week, guys, I'm looking at the slate here. The biggest game on the slate is probably Cardinals-Browns. That's going to be a slugfest.
The Browns need to get Odell involved more, man. Now, we talked about Odell, and is he going to blow up?
Man,
he may.
I was thinking,
if they keep doing this.
With Jarvis being, hobbled, that definitely they would lean on Odell. It just seems
unless they're winning, maybe.
It just seems like for whatever reason they haven't wanted to really make him the focal point, of not even of their offense because we know it's about the running game,
of course,
but the focal point of
their
their passing game.
Exactly. You're right, man. That is mind-boggling to me. I don't get that. And a guy that fought back from injury, you know what his psyche is. You know what type of person he is. So you would think you would placate to his psyche, not only because you want to keep him invested and it bodes well for your team if he's happy and getting targets his way. So that is kind of head-scratching right there. Now, we'll see what happens moving forward. But the Browns are going to be right there in the mix. Baker Mayfield, kind of more like a game manager this year. But with that running game, and the Browns are legit. But who else, man? I mean, there's so many teams. I mean,
the other big game I'm going to be looking at, I'm having my eyes on Bills, Titans.
Who did you say the Browns are playing?
They're playing the Cardinals.
Okay, the Cardinals. We talked about them in last week.
I'm going to have my eyes on Bills and Titans, rematch of AFC divisional
Well, the Titans
round
beat Jacksonville. My boy Urban still can't get that. He still can't get that elusive first victory.
And the other one is, where's it at?
I think when they win one, they win 2 in a row.
Right
I don't care who they're playing. When they win one, they win 2 in a row. And it's going to be this year.
Chargers-Ravens is going to be a big one. I know you'll have your eye on that one.
Yeah.
See if the Chargers can continue their winning ways. And then Packers-Bears, as Justin Fields is going to get his first shot at Aaron Rodgers.
And Justin Fields, he's doing what it takes right now to win. And that's what I said a couple of weeks ago when they were talking about
playing better.
The defense is playing better, and that's what I'm saying, and that's what I've always said. He's playing on a team. He should be the one playing. He's playing on a team that has a good defense. If you put him in the best position to succeed and you lean on the run game, I don't care who it is. Now you have your boy out for a while, Montgomery.
Yeah.
He's out for a while, but Damian Lewis is his name?
No, Damian Williams.
Damian Williams that played for Kansas City.
Chief, yeah.
He's wearing that number 8 now. Okay, yeah. You just have to give him the ball. Now, he's not the type of workhorse that David Montgomery is.
No.
But and you said that a couple of weeks ago. He's not. But he did score a touchdown last week. You still have to lean on the run game.
And he's very familiar in that offense.
Yes.
And he's shown that he can have success
he's
in
a
big
vet.
games.
Right.
He plays
Absolutely.
really well in the Super Bowl.
He's not scared of the moment.
Right.
So Justin Fields, even if you have to be a game manager for a while, just learn the intricacies of the game. Get the huddle used to hearing your voice. Get used to leading your team. Get everybody used to you being the leader. Make the plays when you have to make the plays when they put you in position to. Don't get ahead of yourself. Just keep learning the game. Keep progressing. keep learning in practice, keep working hard. He'll get his big-time games where he's throwing for a lot of yards. But right now, it's about those victories. And I like the fact that he's happy that he got a win. And he had a good passing percentage that game. He only threw for 111 yards, but no turnovers. Don't turn the ball over, or did he have an interception?
Who's that?
Justin Fields.
I have to look. I'm not sure. I
don't
didn't
think
watch
he did,
that game. I just went
but
back
he's not beating himself.
But,
and even if you have to be a game manager for a while. Hey, man, but before we get out of here.
I mean, he's beat what is now a reeling Raiders team. No, he did not turn he did not turn the football over.
Right.
So
keep playing smart. Keep playing within yourself.
No,
don't try to do too
before
much.
We do that, the biggest game of the weekend. Jaguars Dolphins live from London. Does Herb get off the schneid this week?
Oh, you know what?
Urban Meyer, he's pointing around. He's like, y'all heard about that John Gruden guy, right? Yeah. Y'all stop talking about what I did. Go talk about John.
He's the happiest guy in the world that happened when it happened.
He's so happy that he is now back page news compared to what John Gruden did.
Real talk. Hey, you know what? I hate the fact that because I want Herb to get that first victory, man. Because I don't want people to give up on Urban Meyer as a head coach just yet. Now, of course, the things he did a couple of weeks ago, that was uncalled for.
The water got hot. Seat got hot.
That was definitely uncalled for. But as far as him coaching, I mean, I do see them competing. And, of course, they're going to need, I mean, they may go 1-15 or 1-16 but they're going to need some more draft picks to have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. I don't want people to give up on Urban Meyer I don't want him to be thrown into the garbage can with other college coaches that didn't make it. Yeah. I mean, so I want them to give him a chance. You have a franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and I think he has them competing at a high level. They just need some more players. Probably need to make some better. Maybe he may need another offense coordinator. I'm not sold on Bevel. But the thing I was going to say, I don't know how it bodes well for them this week because Miami has to be pissed off right now.
Yeah.
Because they seem like they've taken a step back.
No,
so you know Flores is going to have them dying to get a victory.
They're hoping to get Tua back. That would be a big boost.
They can't say they haven't had Tua
for them. But yeah, you know.
In Buffalo, real quick.
We'll see what
Gregory
happens
Rousseau,
with Herb.
the defensive end from Miami, Gregory Rousseau, he's part of the difference on their defense this year. When you talked about Buffalo's defense, when we were talking about that, 6'7", defensive end, they didn't know he was going to be this good that quick. He's a difference maker over there.
Right. So in closing with Jaguars and Dolphins.
Yeah, because I want to get your take on Ben Simmons and Kyrie real quick.
A chance to, make up with the Jaguars, with his wife. Not so much. All right, moving on.
Hey, you know what? For Urban's sake, man, I hope they work things out, man. But Ben Simmons, what I always say, Eddie, money talks, bullshit walks. And excuse my language right there, but I had to throw that in there because remember what I said about Aaron Rodgers when they were, he's going to hold out. I said, when they start, I don't care how much money he has in the bank. When they start taking, it's almost like, just say, how much is Ben Simmons losing today if he wouldn't have reported to Philadelphia?
Oh, hell, I don't know.
Like 300-some thousand a game or something like that?
Ain't nobody missing
I mean, it's almost like you driving to the bank, you withdrawing $300,000 and coming home and flushing it in the toilet. I mean, you think these guys are going to miss that type of money? The same thing with Aaron Rodgers at the time. I mean, when they start, look at Deshaun Watson. When he said, yeah, I'll report to camp. I mean, yeah, I probably don't want to play for y'all, but I'm going to report to camp, and let's see what happens. That's what I'm saying, man. You don't know what's going on with that. But Ben Simmons, and I like the fact that Philadelphia did not acquiesce and give in. Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers and the ownership group, I like the fact that they didn't give in to him. And like I heard Big Perk say, because he played bad, So I don't think he's the guy that should be in Philadelphia anyway. As great of a talent as he is, great defensive player, but has he really worked on his shot? That's been 3 years. I said 2 years ago, dude, just shoot the damn ball. Just shoot a three-point shot.
They're gonna trade him.
So where is he at mentally, man?
They're gonna trade him. It's just waiting for the
right
deal.
He's reported because he didn't want to miss out on that money.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't even tell you the things that I would do, and we're just not even talk about that kind of money because I'm just telling you that there's no way he's missing out on that check. But they're gonna trade him. They're gonna get him in there because all the angst surrounding what's gonna happen with him, and all the the knocks that they're taking with their team chemistry because he clearly doesn't want to be there. There's no way they allow themselves to go through this season or even really a part of this season dealing with that. There's too much on the line, too much at stake for the 76ers. It's time for them to put up or shut up.
Yeah,
we say this about a lot of teams all the time. Put up or shut up.
But here's the catch.
They're on the cusp of that. They've been right there. And Daryl Morey was brought in to get them over that hump.
But here's the thing.
They can't waste their time trying to force fit Ben Simmons into this if it doesn't fit and he don't want to be there.
But are they going to trade him? What kind of value are they going to get back for him? It's like they have, in order for them to stay competitive in that regard, in my opinion, to go along with Joel Embiid, I think they have to get another star over there. I don't think they can trade him for pennies just because they want to get rid of him.
And the thing about it is, they can bring him in there and they can hide his game and they can get him.
Well, he's a great player.
They can get him having good games, and all of a sudden the trade value goes back up.
Well, you know what? If he gets in,
he's valuable to more teams who don't need him to be the main guy.
Well, you know what? If I was Ben Simmons,
imagine him going to the Warriors. I heard they had interest.
Instead of tucking his tail between his legs and running off like that, if I was Ben Simmons, I don't know what else is going on in Philly. If he just feels that he can't play with Joel Embiid because it's just not a good mesh as far as their games are concerned. But if I was Joel Embiid, I want to go back there. I would be working on my jumper all season. I want to go back there and prove to them that, yeah, I am the number one pick that you picked. And, yes, I've always been a great player. But here's another facet of my game that I've added that's going to get us over the hump. Here's my jump shot. At least I'm willing to take the jump shot. But for him not to take that shot in the playoffs when he was under the basket, I mean, why would you want to run now, bro? You should be wanting to go back there and show them that was a fluke, that you're not that guy. So I don't know what's going on with him mentally. Now, I also don't know what's going on before we get out of here with Kyrie Irving mentally, other than the fact that I'm not a Kyrie Irving fan. I don't dislike the guy. He's probably a good guy. He's weird. He has his own opinion, which I appreciate and respect. I like that. But, again, it's not surprising that he's the one that's putting the Nets in this precarious situation where he's the one that's not getting vaccinated. I like what the Nets did by saying stay away until you're all in. All that coming in, playing half the season, that's not going to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see who knows what Kyrie is going to do. But I'm not crazy about the guy, man. And you're missing out on your money.
Never liked Kyrie.
And that's being selfish.
And ever since, just the way things have transpired, with the Cavaliers and then with the Nets, it's just the guy clearly seems to care more about himself than team success.
Never made his players better.
That stigma is going to always follow you. It's going to always follow you. And he really hasn't had enough success individually.
Because I bring it up every time we talk about it.
for him to be able to act like that and for it to, for that to work, for that recipe to work in the NBA.
You say, wait. You say about what? About him?
I said he hasn't had enough individual success away from LeBron
Absolutely.
James. For
even
that
before
type
LeBron
of,
got to Cleveland?
For that type of attitude or that type of, to be
a
team leader and be able to,
Eddie?
Be like that.
You know what,
you
Eddie?
don't have that kind of clout.
Right. And that's why I said last week, he's no AI. I think he's a bit overrated. Now, I say that, and I can say that one day, then you look up the next day, he went for 45. But it's just the way he doesn't seem like he makes his teammates better. He's not a great defensive player. And, again, he's no AI in the sense. And then a guy, he's 6'1", 6'2". I mean, he has some games. He's injury-prone. You never know when his knee is going to be sore and all this and that. Great offensive player. But I think there are games where he disappears sometimes, and not so much disappears, but he's not a superstar. I mean, when he was at Duke, he feels that way. He left Duke. He was the number one pick in the draft, and only played a few games at Duke. Type high school player. Speaking of Duke, I'm going to tell you the best point guard, harking it back real quick, in my opinion, that came out of Duke, who would have been a great player in the NBA if he wouldn't have got hurt in that motorcycle accident, Jay Will. He used to go by Jason Williams. Jay Williams, he was great at Duke. That was the best point guard in my opinion. Even I'm saying he was even better than Kyrie in college in my opinion. Jay Will could go, bro. He could get it, man. I'm talking about was strong, could get to the basket, could finish with both hands, was competitive, had the jumper, could play defense. If he wouldn't have got hurt with Chicago, second pick in the draft I think it was, if he wouldn't have got hurt in Chicago, I thought he would have been a great point guard. But I don't see Kyrie as someone special in that. I mean, it sounds crazy for me to say that because if you look back at some of his numbers and things like that, but when I watch him play, that's not a guy that I'm clamoring to have on my team. I mean, even though I see the talent, it's just, I mean, and the way you see how he's hanging his teammates out there to dry right now. He's throwing them under the bus and keeping them in limbo. They don't know what's going on. A team that's predicted to win the championship. And this is what you're doing? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But, hey, man, I'm not crazy about that dude, bro. I'm serious. But you know what, Eddie? It's time to go. It's time to go.
Yeah.
Let's go. The sports court. Legends live and let live.
And we'll see y'all next week, Tuesday, 6 to 8. Y'all have a good night.